Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. And then, of course, the moves with mortgage-backed securities to try to get mortgage rates lower. Just taken together, does this move the needle in the U.S. on housing affordability?
It's definitely a step in the right direction, and it's going to improve sentiment, which is going to help, but it's not going to drastically fix things. And the idea that institutional investors are blocking home ownership is a myth. Institutional investors own less than 3% of single-family rental market. That's 0.6% of the entire housing market in a $50 trillion market. Blocking institutional investors is not going to move the needle. And in fact, it actually could hinder the issue, which is a supply issue.
So
that's it. That's everything.
All right, Katie, great to see you. Have a great weekend.
She just gave us all the answers.
All right, we're done. No, but, and even the idea of buying more mortgage bonds, does that do anything, or is that just a little thing?
So again, it's a step in the right direction, but $200 billion in MBS and a $9 trillion MBS market could move it 10 to 30 basis points on the 30-year fixed in the near term, which is probably already being priced in right now. And then long term, over the next year or so, it could bring rates down 50 to 100 basis points. But we're talking going from, if you're at 6.08 today on the 30-year fixed, even if you were at 6.5, dropping a full 100 basis points isn't going to move the mortgage payment enough. And that's what the issue is affordability. So if you take a $415,000 home, that's the median home price for new homes right now, the mortgage payment only drops $200 a month. The issue is that in 2019, that same house was $283,000. So home prices have gone up 80%. And so they're just not affordable anymore. And mortgage rates at that time were 4.1%. So now the mortgage on that same house just in 2019 is $2,500 versus $1,250. So dropping rates 10 to 30 basis points in the near term is, like I said, going in the right direction, but it's not going to be a major needle mover.
Listen, we love talking to you. You understand land acquisition, what the home builders are up to. I mean, what are you hearing from home builders, why they aren't buying more homes in the United States? And I know when we talk to you, building home, real estate's regional, right? There's rules, there's regulations, there's zoning, there's lots of things that come into it. So is there a clear takeaway of why aren't home builders, building more homes in the United States right now?
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because what the Fed can do if they want to improve America's ability to purchase more homes is we need to increase supply. So what they can do specifically is help with reform and make it easier for permitting, entitlements, impact fees. All of this regulation adds up to 20% of the home price in markets that aren't as regulated, and in heavily regulated markets, it can make up 40% of the home price just because of these extra regulations, which the government comes and steps in. It adds time, soft costs, carrying costs, years of delays, and over $1 million just to get projects off the ground. And so that's feeding into the ultimate home price for homeowners. The government needs to help with densities and zoning reform in order to make it faster and easier for developers. That will increase the supply, and that's what we need.
Can the federal government help with density reform? This is a local issue. This is an issue that is sometimes put up to voters in some cases.
Exactly. And it is a local issue. And so the places that are more pro-development, that's where houses are more affordable. And because it is a more local issue, we need reform at the local level, which the government, the federal government has the ability to pull some levers to pressure the local governments. And so that is one thing that they could do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the other thing is, Katie, we often hear from, or not often, but we've had guests on who say, it's really simple. We need to also pay people more money. I mean, if you've gotten things that are costing more, that if you want to make things more affordable, pay people more money. I don't know. Does that make sense? Does that factor in your view?
Well, I mean, at Walton, we believe in free markets and looking at the data-driven housing policy, and so we just really need to increase supply, and then it will work itself out, because the money's coming from somewhere.
So on the supply side of things, if we look at this as the local and regional issue that it is, Katie, where in the country are homes needed the most and the quickest?
Well, definitely where jobs are. I mean, there are some places that have the highest regulation. You're looking like Massachusetts and New York. And it makes it difficult for developers to build homes in those markets where people do want to be, but they just simply can't afford the home. So places like, Houston, that has very low regulated zoning laws, developers are able to go in there and build houses for much more affordable, because you can be off the ground in 6 months, where it can take literally more than 5 years to get land zoned and approved in places that are highly regulated, like the coastal cities.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the other thing is, like, we've been watching the sector and it's been whipsawed based on what's coming out of the White House in terms of the home builders in particular. We've got quite a rally, but we did see, some selling earlier in the week based on the social media post out of the president when it comes to housing. Does it make sense at all for investors to be thinking about buying? I know, that's not necessarily your world, but there's nothing that's really changed that maybe has fundamentally or financially changed the outlook for these names. And just quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's the good news that the government wants more affordability and more housing for the American people. The fundamentals are there. Demand is off the charts. So the long-term fundamentals from the investment side are there, and that, I would say, is positive. There's really nothing that's going to keep demand from being there long term. If we can fix the supply side, then I think long term you're in a good spot.
All right. Thank you so much, Katie. Glad we could get some time with you. Katie Hubbard. She's Executive VP of Capital Markets of the privately owned asset and real estate investment company. It is Walton Global. We mentioned home builders rallying today. They are up more than 6%, Tim.
Yeah, kind of different than what we saw earlier this week, but giving back some of those losses. This is Bloomberg Business Week Daily.
This is Bloomberg Business Week Daily with Carol Masser and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio and Television.
All right, everybody, we're coming up on the last hour of trading, not just for Friday, but for the week overall. Just quick check. It does seem like investors shrugging off an awful lot, certainly if you consider the week in terms of geopolitics, presidential policy, big jobs report this morning, but we've got a rally underway, and we're looking at a record on Wall Street.
And just a reminder, too, the president is set to participate in just a few minutes in a meeting with oil and gas executives. It has been moved to the East Room. It was closed press. It's now open press. We'll bring those comments to you when the president does start to speak. We expect executives from Chevron, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, and Continental Resources, Hillcorp Energy, and more to be in attendance.
A big part of the oil patch will certainly be there. All right, folks, I'm Carol Massler along with Tim Stanovic. Let's get to some stocks on the move with us. To do that is Bloomberg News cross-asset reporter Denitsa Sokova. She's here in studio. You want to start with retail stocks. What's going on?
Yeah, we had a great day for the S&P, but not so much for the retail sector. That was the one that was hurt the most after we learned that the Supreme Court wouldn't release its highly anticipated decision today. Two names I'm looking at, Under Armour and Kohl's, both of them were down about 6% today. Really a lot of pressure there. We saw some of those names rallying into closer to the decision. So there was some optimism there. And another thing with the delay of the decision is that there has been so much uncertainty. And all those retail names have been under so much pressure that you can see that any delay is weighing additionally on that. It's not only those names. We have Lululemon, we have Best Buy, we have American Eagle. All of those are under a lot of pressure today. Now we know the Supreme Court decision is moved to Wednesday, but even with that, we know that a lot of companies like Costco are suing for refunds. But even if the decision is against the Supreme Court, then the decision about the refunds may move to lower courts. So it's still, we're going back to that uncertainty, and the victim of that is retail stocks.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Intel, another company on your radar today.
I feel like the chip sector, there's been a lot of movement today to the upside.
Yeah, Intel has been doing so well. It rose more than 10%. This is the highest level since March 2024. Of course, the ticker is INTC. It's coming also from news by the White House. President Trump praised Intel CEO after their meeting. They had a meeting at the White House. After that, he took over social media and he said, "We made a great deal, and so did Intel." There is a lot of optimism there. And of course, they recently had a new CEO take over. There has been a lot of optimism since then. He's been really shoring up a lot of the troubled business. But yet, we're yet to see if the new investment is actually paying off and all those new chips are going to prove, and whether Intel can actually take a serious share of that business, despite the big rally we're seeing in the stock.
I don't know. I don't know if I envy the position of a corporate executive who is in charge of a company that has U.S. ownership. It's all well, the tweets are great or the social media posts are great when the stock is up, but when the stock goes down, is that phone going to ring? And is there going to be an angry president on the other side of that?
I don't know, but it's certainly a new world order, right? Like, it's just kind of blows my mind. I think a lot of people, when you think about the U.S. government ownership in Intel so directly, right? Versus maybe some other type of policy to support the industry or the company specifically. From chips to guacamole, we go
to lunch bowls.
I love
it's
chips
very
and
important. Well, yeah, we've been talking about the lunch bowl era ending, but we're seeing some optimism there. Two names, Chipotle and Cava. Both of them have initiated coverage at Telsey Advisory Group, and the initiation is starting with overweight. So pretty bullish thing there. Chipotle is up on the news as much as 2%. The ticker, of course, is CMG. Cava also gained on the news. It was up as much as 3.6%. Now the gains are a little bit smaller, but still a lot of optimism there. The ticker, of course, is CAVA. We're seeing an interesting trend in Chipotle, and I'm sure you've seen it at other brands. It's all about proteins. They've introduced those menus that have so much proteins, like 30 grams.
Didn't they always have a lot of proteins?
No, but now, like even if you go to Sweet Green, I think it was like 100 grams of protein. It's like a constant amping up those numbers. And there is optimism there. They're saying Chipotle remains on track to become a leading global restaurant. Same thing for Cava. What the analyst is pointing out that some young consumers are wary and perhaps are not going back to those brands. And 2025 was definitely a soft year for those lunch bowls we've been talking about. But maybe there is more good news going ahead.
I'm just looking. Okay,
what are you looking at?
Just a quick Google. We need about 55 to 110 grams per day for a person who weighs 150 pounds.
Is that based on this week's updated
Oh yeah,
guidelines, or is it based on old guidelines, Carol? Because this week,
I think
the
it's
US
old.
government came out and said, we
Eat more.
actually
Have
want
more.
you to eat more protein per kilogram of body weight.
Yeah.
Protein, so
you
hot right
know,
now,
My dad used to say everything in moderation.
That's fair.
Like, I
including
think-
protein.
Including protein.
Yeah.
Like greens are good. Like
The,
you have to have
the
greens.
inverted pyramid is back.
I know.
It's flipped.
I know.
It's
They
in a
flipped it,
different way.
yeah.
It's all about the protein, and you know.
No more plate like we
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah. I don't know. I went through a period of my life where I was big on protein, low on carbs, but I think you really got to do a little bit of everything, right?
I don't know, doctor.
Okay.
It sounds healthy to diversify.
Not a doctor. Don't play one on TV. Denitza, thank you. Bloomberg News, cross-asset reporter Denitza Sikova with Stock Movers. Check out our Stock Movers podcast. 5-minute episodes, biggest winners and losers in the stock market. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcast. We are monitoring DC, expected to go there. The president meeting with top execs at the major oil company. So we'll take you there live as soon as it happens. If you're watching on TV, the close coming your way in just a moment. Tim and I continuing, though. Stay with us on Bloomberg Business Week Daily. Wrap up the trading day and the week overall. Another busy week, another busy Friday, to say the least. We've got a rally underway, though, so we're looking at a possible close for stocks on Wall Street. S&P 500, good for a gain of about 0.75 percentage point, 251 points higher on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, or a 0.5 percentage point. Big tech back. Semiconductors really also popping in today's session. You've got the NASDAQ 100 up 272 points, Tim, up about 1%. And we're going to watch the oil patch again, waiting for that presser and event to happen at the White House between President Trump and oil execs. You can see that's I believe, a live shot there.
It looks like, is that Doug Burgum's? I think, is that Doug Burgum's?
The back of his head?
I think, is what
Secretary
we
of
see.
the Interior?
Yeah. Secretary of the Interior. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I can recognize people by the back of their head sometimes.
that is a skill.
Chris Wright is there,
The
Energy
Energy
Secretary as
Secretary.
well.
Yeah.
That one came thanks to Ari Agami in our control room.
Okay,
Thanks, Ari.
so they're chatting there in the White House, East Room. They are gathering.
They're
and
still
again,
standing, though, which means the president is not coming in, imminently.
But our understanding is that folks are gathering.
Yeah.
So anytime soon, and we'll keep an eye on it. This is all, of course, against the backdrop of what happened just about 1 week ago in terms of Venezuela, the U.S. raid, removing the president, and also since seizing tankers and also getting access to oil from Venezuela and bringing it in. So there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, and that's really the backdrop of the next 2 hours right here on Bloomberg Business Week Daily. We're, of course, monitoring what's happening in Washington, and we'll bring you comments from the president as we do get them. But on the Venezuela story, and on oil specifically, she wrote the book on Saudi Arabia and Aramco. Ellen Wald of Transversal Consulting, also senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, is going to be joining us. She's got some great commentary, thanks to the notes that our producers got us, about the price of oil right now and to what extent that will provide an incentive for companies to or not do business and make these investments in Venezuela.
Got to make money. Otherwise, you're going to think twice about an investment. Although we did hear earlier from our own reporter talking, Kevin Crowley, about, these companies do think longer term. They have to for these projects. So, there's once again the oil execs peeking out the White House windows, checking out the grounds there as they await to meet with the president. Hey, also on the future of Venezuela, Rockford Whites of Tufts University's Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, really digging into this story as well for us.
And we're also going to hear from Council on Foreign Relations President Emeritus Richard Haas. We'll hear his comments a little later. He's featured on a new episode of Wall Street Week tonight.
All right, Bloomberg Business Week as we await that event at the White House. Bloomberg Business Week brought to you by Golden Crest Metals. Inflation, tariffs, and volatility have some investors turning to gold for stability. So to get a free gold and silver info guide, learn how to make and add metals to your IRA or 401k tax and penalty free. Just head to goldencrestmetals.com/guide. That's goldencrestmetals.com/guide. Well, once again, Carol, once again, it's like I'm talking to myself.
I'm here too.
Who doesn't do that? Carol Master along with Tim Stanovic. We are waiting. Of course, you just saw Susie Wiles, key aide, of course.
Marco Rubio's there. Secretary of State. We see Vice President J.D. Vance. We see Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. Still, as everybody's standing up, and it appears in the East Room of the White House, awaiting the president to come in and make comments.
And we would expect that there's going to be comments about what happened in Venezuela, what is necessary in terms of the rebuild for the energy infrastructure that, as you know, as you've been listening to Bloomberg all week, is not in a good state. We have seen Venezuela kicking out about 1 million barrels of oil. They have in years past done as much as 3 million. So what does it take to get it up to snuff? And are these U.S. oil companies willing to commit? You can see President Trump there in the East Room, of course, stepping in, shaking hands. Let's listen in.
Well, it's a great honor companies in the world by far, I would say. And we're doing tremendous things. Our country is doing very well. You saw the numbers that got released today, yesterday. Deficits cut way, way, way back at levels that nobody's ever seen before, setting records. And the numbers coming into our country are unprecedented. And we're doing really well. We had a situation 3 days ago with Venezuela, and we're getting along extremely well with the people of Venezuela, both the people and the people that are running Venezuela. I just want to thank our military. What they've done is incredible. That was considered unprecedented, to go into a military fort with thousands of soldiers and others, and to come in with 152 planes going every which way, and very rapid speeds and helicopters, and to come out with no deaths and the loss of no equipment. It was pretty amazing. Nobody's seen anything like it. I was called by the leaders of numerous countries. I won't go into which ones, but the biggest and the strongest, and they said that was very impressive. They were all impressed. But today I'm delighted to welcome almost 24 of the biggest and most respected oil and gas executives in the world to the White House. It's an honor to be with them. We have many others that were not able to get in. I said if we had a ballroom, we'd have over 1,000 people. Everybody wanted. I never knew your industry was that big. I never knew you had that many people in your industry. But here we are. And if you look, come to think of it, well, I got to look at this myself. Wow. What a view. This is the door to the ballroom. Unusual time to look, but I figure we might as well do it. If the fake news would like to go back and take a look, you can, but you'll see a very big foundation that's moving. We're ahead of schedule in the ballroom and under budget. It's going to be, I don't think there'll be anything like it in the world, actually. I think it'll be the best. We went from, this is, as you know, our biggest room, which would seat 100 for dinner, maybe, if you're lucky, if you're nice and tight. And the ballroom will seat many. And it'll also take care of the inauguration with bulletproof glass, drone-proof ceilings, and everything else, unfortunately, that today you need. So we're going to discuss how these great American companies can help rapidly rebuild Venezuela's dilapidated oil industry and bring millions of barrels of oil production to benefit the United States, the people of Venezuela, and the entire world. And yesterday, the number is 30 million barrels. I can't even, is that a correct number? 30 million barrels. You hear that, Peter? Of oil was given to us by Venezuela. That's a lot of oil. It's about $4 billion worth, and it's on its way to the United States right now. And we want to thank Venezuela for that. And we're working very well with them, obviously, or they wouldn't have been so generous. But they respect us again. They didn't respect us at all before. So that's money that goes to the United States. Some will go to Venezuela, and some will go to the oil companies, but not that, because that's already been extracted. So when you're not getting any of that, but when you start extracting, you'll get. But it's tremendous reserves, among the biggest in the world. Some people say it is the biggest in the world. And we're going to be working with Venezuela. We're going to be making the decision as to which oil companies are going to go in, that we're going to allow to go in. Going to cut a deal with the companies. We'll probably do that today or very shortly thereafter with Chris and Doug. And we're dealing with the country, so we're empowered to make that deal. And you'll have total safety, total security. One of the reasons you couldn't go in is you had no guarantees, you had no security, but now you have total security. It's a whole different Venezuela, and Venezuela is going to be very successful. And the people of the United States are going to be big beneficiaries because we're going to be extracting, numbers of, in terms of oil, like, few people have ever seen, actually. So you're dealing with us directly. You're not dealing with Venezuela at all. We don't want you to deal with Venezuela. Let me thank Vice President J.D. Vance, who's doing a fantastic job. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, likewise, a fantastic job. I have good people. I like them better than my first group. But we had a great, despite that, we had a great first term. We had some great people there too, by the way. But we had a great first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country in the first term, but this is blowing it away. And you haven't seen anything yet. Everyone's been shocked by the numbers, 5.4% GDP. And that's despite the fact that we were badly hurt by the Democrat shutdown, of which they'd like to see if they could shut it down again. Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, who's fantastic. Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, recommended by Doug as being the greatest oil man anywhere in the world, because I wanted Doug for that job, energy. And Doug said, no, sir, there's a man named Chris Wright. I said, who the hell is Chris Wright? He said he's the most talented oil man anywhere in the world. I doubt you can get him, because typically oil men make a lot of money, and women. They make a lot of money, but Chris came. You took one of the greatest salary cuts probably in history, Chris, right? But he's a fantastic person, loves our country, and many other important members of this team. And I want to thank them for their efforts. As you know, last week, the United States Armed Forces performed one of the most spectacular military operations in American history, apprehending the outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro for his crimes against the United States, crimes for which he has now been indicted and is in federal court awaiting trial. And he killed many people, millions of people, actually, and allowed jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums, drug dealers, drug addicts to pour into our country totally unchecked because of Sleepy Joe Biden's policy of open borders, the stupidest thing I've ever seen. We're getting them all out. The departure of Maduro makes it possible an incredible future for both nations, Venezuela and the United States, in which we will more closely integrate the economies of two major energy powers in the Western Hemisphere. Energy coming out of Venezuela was very small. One of the things the United States gets out of this will be even lower energy prices. We have people now getting gasoline for $1.99, $1.96, $1.95, $1.92 yesterday, somebody. And it used to be $3.50, $4, $5 a gallon. Think of that, $1.99. Decades ago, the United States built Venezuela's oil industry at tremendous expense with American skill, technology, know-how, and dollars. But those assets were stolen from us, and we had presidents who did nothing about it. This president is much different than your other presidents. They did nothing about it. They stole it. Some of the people in this room were a little bit younger when that happened, but not that much younger. Wasn't that long ago. But they stole our assets like we were babies, and the United States did absolutely nothing about it. So now we're doing everything about it. Now we're doing 500% about it, but it's a long time after the act took place. So they stole from us, and it was taken by socialists and communists at the time, and Venezuela was going bad, really bad. And as much oil as they have, they're producing almost nothing, which is just a system. So we're really, if you look at it, we're taking back what was taken from us. They took our oil industry. We built that entire oil industry, started a long time ago, but they took it, and they were very ungracious to this country, but now they're being very nice. American companies will have the opportunity to rebuild Venezuela's rotting energy infrastructure and eventually increase oil production to levels never, ever seen before. When you add Venezuela and the United States together, we have 55% of the oil in the world. The United States is number one. We have them drilling. Drill, baby, drill was my campaign. And Doug and Chris, I think we're setting records on drilling right now and taking oil without Venezuela. That's how we're getting the oil prices down. The plan is for them to spend, meaning our giant oil companies will be spending at least $100 billion of their money, not the government's money. They don't need government money. But they need government protection and need government security that when they spend all this money, it's going to be there so they get their money back and make a very nice return. The plan is for them to spend at least $100 billion to rebuild the capacity and the infrastructure necessary. Venezuela has also agreed that the United States will immediately begin refining and selling up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil, which will continue indefinitely. We're all set to do it. We have the refining capacity. It was actually based very much on the Venezuelan oil, which is a heavy oil, very good oil, great oil. It's fantastic for certain things like asphalt roads, best there is in the world for asphalt roads and other things. All of the companies here today are going to be treasured partners in bringing the nation of Venezuela back to life, restoring its economy and generating great wealth for their companies and for their people, and also great wealth for the American people and tremendous wealth for the companies that are going in. The companies that are going in, and if you don't want to go in, just let me know, because I got 25 people that aren't here today that are willing to take your place. So I just want to thank, these are people that I either know or I know of by reading lots of business magazines and journals and papers. These are the greatest oil people anywhere in the world. Harold Hamm, I see, is here. Harold, you know, there's a story about Harold Hamm that he could look at a piece of land, put a straw into the land, and oil pours out. Is that true about you? Whereas some of you guys have to invest hundreds of millions of dollars to find that oil. So we can't let that story be true. But they say Harold puts a straw into the land and oil comes gushing out. So you're not a big R&D person, are you, huh? He's called instinct for oil. Now, he's got other problems, but we won't talk about those problems. But he's been a great supporter of mine for a long time, haven't you, Harold? So congratulations. But we have, and I think Harold would agree, we have the greatest oil men and women anywhere in the world sitting in this room right now. And we have a lot of people that will be back to see us sometime next week. We're going to have another meeting for another group. But we're going to do this very quickly. We can have this done almost immediately. So I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to invite Vice President Vance to say a few words, followed by Secretaries Rubio, Burgum, and Wright. And then we'll have a few words from representatives that are here and to discuss their ideas, a couple of them. We have Chevron, which has been, where's Chevron? Where are you? Far right. No, I thought you'd have a better location. You were the only one that was there for all that. I used to call you and say, what the hell is going on with Venezuela? He stuck it out. I don't know if you made money or not, but you stuck it out. I got to give you a lot of credit for that. Mark Nelson, thank you very much. Exxon CEO Darren Woods. Darren, thank you very much. How's Exxon doing? Okay. They'll do a lot better now, won't they, huh? Exxon's been amazing. It's been an amazing company. And ConocoPhillips CEO Ryan Lance, thank you very much. So you guys could say something, and then we'll take some questions from the press. And if anybody else would like to speak, we'll have you speak. We have all the time in the world. This is a big subject. This is massive wealth. And more importantly than massive wealth, it leads to lower taxes and a lot of jobs for Americans and for Venezuelans, but for Americans in this case. And I just, again, appreciate you all being here. And I'd like to ask JD to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thanks to everybody for being here. You know, as a Marine Corps veteran for my entire lifetime, presidents, and let's be honest, they were Democrats and Republicans, would send the American military to far off places. They would get us involved in these endless quagmires. They would lose hundreds or thousands of American lives, and the American people would get nothing out of these misadventures. And now you have an American president who's empowered the American military to stop the flow of drugs into our country and to ensure that we, as opposed to our adversaries, control one of the great energy reserves that exist anywhere in the entire world. And he did it without losing a single American life in the process. It was an amazing operation. It's going to make our country richer. It's going to make our country more powerful. It's going to make our country safer. And it's going to lead to the decline, the further decline of drug overdose deaths in the United States of America. An amazing thing, and I'm happy to be here to talk.
That, of course, is the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, there, sitting next to President Trump there in the East Room of the White House in a meeting, a rather large meeting, if you will, with key executives from the U.S. Energy Past. There, of course, is Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. As we know, in terms of the executives in the room, we've got the Vice Chair of Chevron. We have the Exxon CEO, Darren Woods, also Conoco's Chief Ryan Lance, Harold Hamm, he also called out, of Continental Resources, also in the room. Again, these are key players when it comes to the U.S. energy sector. What I think was key, and as we continue to monitor, we're going to take you back there as we continue to hear what will be the specifics that the administration wants to see from the U.S. energy industry when it comes to getting Venezuela back up and running. I do want to point out, here's something that the president said. Oil companies will be spending at least $100 billion of their money, not the government's money. They don't need government money. They need government protection and need government security, that when they spend all this money, it's got to be there so they get their money back and make a very nice return. So again, $100 billion. They also, we heard from the president that Venezuela has also agreed that the U.S. will immediately begin refining and selling up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil, which will continue indefinitely. He said, the president, we're all set to do it. He also said, if you do not want to go in, just let me know. So laying it out, we'll wait for some more particulars. In the meantime, we've got a great voice when it comes to the world of energy.
I want to bring in Ellen Wald, president of Transversal Consulting, senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. She's also the author of Saudi Inc. It's the history of Saudi Arabia and Aramco. She joins us from Florida. Ellen, as Carol mentioned, lots of headlines coming from the White House right now. I won't rehash them, but what I want to hear from you is if that's enough to get these oil executives to make commitments to the tune of tens of billions of dollars in Venezuela.
I think we have to take these announcements.
Did you have any prediction
I do think that oil
bets on?
are always excited to invest in areas where there's oil. But I do think that what they're saying, and I'm not sure if this is being communicated.
Yeah, let me take a look here.
He did say Venezuela an awful lot.
Oh, for the talk? No, I couldn't find like a live thing about that.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like an impromptu meeting. so it didn't kind of come up. But I do have some bets for Trump. Like, I mean, I thought this one was pretty good. Will Trump acquire Greenland before 2027? And I put in a no, because I mean, I'm not saying that he won't do it. I just don't think he'll do it this year.
Gotcha.
So that I thought was like, all right. I mean, I got $6 on it, and make 90 cents. But I kind of just was going a little crazy yesterday on bets. But I mean, some of them are paying off here already. Like this one, will Israel strike Gaza? Like that was kind of an easy one, and I went a no on that one. And yeah, can already crash that one out for green. This one I thought was a really good one, and it was good odds. Will there be another government shutdown by January 31st? And you can see from where I got in, it's already been down, but I got in pretty good. And yeah, I thought that was an easy no, like, because, so, you know, I'm up on that one.
Nice.
And then this one was interesting. Like, I didn't know kind of which Kevin is it going to be. So I locked in both Kevins there. So, but I'm good. Maybe when it gets closer, I can cash one of those out if it's up. Oh, this one. Well, this one is a Venezuela oil one. Will Venezuela give the U.S. oil by January 31st? And I put in a yes. So that one's looking good. Obviously, just by that press conference right there. You know, you can see my football ones, Patriots, Packers and Bears are Patriots to win. And I got Bears to win. $1, $105. But there was one thing, like it was like it was something like predict the Super Bowl or something, and like the Bears were in like the top predictions, but they weren't in for winning. But still, the fact that they still might make it there is kind of interesting. But yeah, like yesterday I was just listening to Bloomberg, and then if something came up, I'd jump on here and take a bet. And yeah, I locked in a lot of bets yesterday. You can see that hockey game that I won there. That's thanks to shout out Bubbles, the NHL quant. But yeah, yesterday you can see I bought a bunch.
Nice.
And I just will Joe Rogan say stuff like Trump? Will he say Trump 3 times? Will he say Venezuela? And will he say Maduro? What is it? Maduro. So I think that was some good bets. This one I don't know about, man. Like I put a no, but that one's way up, bro. That could be some crazy.
Which one is it?
So the Iran supreme leader out of Iran.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, nah, like this guy's like. But if you look at what's going on in the country, like they're not happy. They're like storming, and I heard
cities
taking off. So you can see this one's up 26%. Like,
nice.
You know, but I'm losing on this one because I put a no. I should have locked in a yes.
Yeah.
Should have went with my gut, but I went with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said nah. I'm like, gotta go with your gut sometimes.
Well, dude, I'll tell you, dude, I didn't hear anything about Iran until like last week. You know, like that's when I started to like when Trump nabbed Maduro. I mean, I didn't really hear a ton. I saw a few things, but nothing crazy. And then, yeah, so I was as surprised as anybody else that might have been, you know, because it's getting serious where they're sitting there saying like, you know, protesters captured such and such city or something to that effect. I don't like I could be wrong on all that, but um, and then his solution was, I'll give you $7 a month to stop. It's like what? And maybe $7 a month in Iran goes a long way. I don't know, but you know we would sit there and be like, oh, you're going to give us a whole $7, huh? To not riot? Okay, like awesome. Like I'm not like whatever.
I saw somewhere that he's offered 100 grand to every person in Greenland or whatever, but I don't know if that's true.
That's what I saw. The funny thing is, it was 10 to 100 grand. It's like, so there's like, it's a big difference between the two. I don't know. Like, I think, and I just saw a post. I don't know where. Like, I get a lot of notifications, and so I look at the notification real quick, and then if it's something that you know interests me a lot, and I'm able to, then I'll go check out the post. But I wasn't able to check this one out. But they were talking about that Greenland is like maybe we just bypass Denmark altogether, you know. And yeah, I get that. You know, they're just saying, oh, it's NATO. You can't this. You know, you can't do it or whatever. And you know, my question is it's like, why does Denmark, like, I get it that, you know, back in the Viking days or whatever, I get all that history stuff. But at this moment in time, like, why was it never just been like, hey, we can't really take care of this. So maybe we should, you know, give it to like sell it to somebody, you know, who could. And why didn't the U.S. ever just like, because the U.S. has a base up there, like an Air Force base up there.
It's not like it was in the Cold War or whatever, but yeah.
No. But you know, you would think that, hey, maybe we should have just you know, sold it while we had the chance, or I like I said, I don't know.
I heard, like, I watched some quick thing, and they made a deal for the Virgin Islands or something, and that's why they don't have, like, that's why U.S. doesn't have Greenland.
Oh, gotcha.
Something like that. They made some deal for other land, but I mean, yeah, like, definitely it's strategic for all this stuff, but I think also it has more to do with like rare earth minerals, like, and making money just as much as defense, if what's not getting said. And I mean, even same with Venezuela, like, what are they talking about today? Extracting oil.
Yeah, I mean,
not like anything to do with the government or elections. Yeah. Or
well, and the funny thing is when Venezuela had their last like election, you know, it was always there was the, oh, I'm monitoring the situation, or they shouldn't be doing this or whatever. And you know, that's, you know, people were saying it, and then somebody does it and they're like, oh, that's reckless. And it was just like, well, you guys were saying this like last year, how things needed to happen, and then finally something happened, and then they're just like, and it's like, it's one of those, we're just posturing type deals, I guess. Whatever. At this point, like, I was awake. I remember I was just I don't know what I was doing. And I just started seeing posts about helicopters in Venezuela. And I was like, all right. I was like, I don't know what they're doing, but okay. And then, yeah, that's when I saw everything. I was like, oh, well, that was not on my bingo card.
I mean, for being 9 days into this year, a lot has happened thus far. And I mean, today's a big day. I couldn't find anything about it, like about the Supreme Court decision. When's that happening or whatever? But
they postponed it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they were supposed to, and then they decided not to. So I'm assuming because people were leaking. You know, they have a big habit of leaking Supreme Court decisions, whether or not it's by design or not. Like, you know, it's just like everybody's like, oh yeah, somebody, you know, they're like, yeah, they're going to rule against it or something to that effect.
Well,
and
it looks like that on Polymarket, right? But yeah, I mean, Trump's going to be in a pissy mood if they do. And Bubbles was saying, like, if they do, then markets will go down. But that didn't make sense to me because markets went down when he introduced the tariffs. So wouldn't the opposite happen if tariffs are reduced? I'm okay with no decision. Like, I wasn't like looking for massive volatility today.
Get in there and get started.
Well, the first step, this technical team, as I talked to Secretary Wright earlier this week, we started from the beginning to put the team together so that if and when it was needed, we could hit the ground almost immediately. So we can hit the ground within the next couple of weeks, start the assessment. And then from there, we need to understand.
That's what we want. We want speed and quality. That's what we want. Thank you, Darren. And Conoco, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the opportunity to be here too. And you've assembled a great team, and our congratulations as well for removing one of the terrible people in the world and bringing them to justice. It was quite amazing.
All right, that of course is now. We are listening to the head of ConocoPhillips, who's making some comments, Ryan Lance, again, meeting with President Trump. Really safe to say the top names in the U.S. energy patch are there in the East Room of the White House, along with key members of the president's cabinet. So let's go back and continue listening in with the head of ConocoPhillips.
In Venezuela today. So we're at a bit of a different situation, but I think your big and bold idea to use energy commerce instead of conflict is something that could make a real big difference in Venezuela. And our company certainly stands ready to help in that endeavor. encourage you to continue to think bigger and even bolder. And we've had some discussions with your energy team about that as well, as we think about the other people that need to be in this room and in this discussion, are the banks, and including probably the Exim Bank, as we think about how the debt needs to be restructured and the financing to deliver the billions of dollars that are required to restore their energy infrastructure. And I think as we think that big and bold, we need to be also thinking about even restructuring the entire Venezuelan energy system, including PDVSA. And I think if we can do that and think bold, there's an opportunity to be quick, fast, and restore the quality of what's happened in Venezuela, or what's been lost in Venezuela over the course of the last 25 years. So thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, and you'll get a lot of your money back. We're going to start with an even plate, though. We're not going to look at what people lost in the past, because that was their fault. That was a different president. You're going to make a lot of money, but we're not going to go back. You left a lot of money behind, I guess, huh? What number?
12 billion.
How much?
12 billion.
Well, it's a good write-off.
It's already been written off.
It's been written. All right, thank you. You'll make it back one way or the other. You're all going to do very well. I think really very well. Marco just gave me a note. Go back to Chevron. They want to discuss something. Go ahead. I'm going back to Chevron, Marco. Thank you, Marco.
Was there a question, Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead, Marco. What are you saying here?
Mark, if you can update us on operations in the ground and with the appropriate approvals, what you might be able to achieve in the next 12 to 18 months, give us a little view from the ground.
You bet. So today, Chevron has 3,000 employees in 4 different joint ventures in Venezuela today. And over the past 5 to 7 years, they've taken production from about 40,000 barrels a day to 240,000 barrels a day, essentially getting those facilities and that equipment up to standards that would be something that people in the room would be more accustomed to. Given the work we've done with Secretary Wright and Secretary Burgum and even Secretary Bessent, I think we have a path forward here very shortly to be able to increase our liftings from those joint ventures 100%, essentially effective immediately. We are also able to increase our production within our own disciplined investment schemes by about 50% just in the next 18 to 24 months. And that's just leveraging what's on the ground. So to Secretary Rubio's comments about phase 1, this is taking the momentum of improvements we've already made there locally and building on those and creating more momentum for the people of Venezuela.
Do you think you have an advantage being there? You've been there by the skin of your teeth. It's been tough for you to be there. But do you think you have an advantage over the other people in this room by the fact that you are there?
Yeah, I think there are, Mr. President, I think there would be days where it didn't feel like an advantage, and there are days where it does feel like an advantage. But having people on the ground today that care desperately about the people of Venezuela and know how to operate the assets that are there is a definite advantage today.
Would you say the best locations are available, or would you say the best locations are already sort of worked, even though they're in very bad shape? The best locations for finding oil, the best locations for oil.
There are more opportunities than not, Mr. President. With 300 billion barrels of reserves and resources in country, there are lots of opportunities for many companies.
Will you be building new, or will you be using the old infrastructure that you have?
Yeah, today it's a little bit of a mix, but today it's mostly us taking the equipment of today, getting it to the standards that we are accustomed to your comments about making it how it should be today. Most of the investments that we've been making are about getting it up to our standards.
Well, I think you're going to make an investment, but you're going to get your money back very quickly, and that's part of our thing. We're going to have you get your money back fast, and then you'll give a lot to Venezuela and to the United States after that. Okay, so you'll be in good shape. Could I ask Harold Hamm to say a few words? He's been a friend of mine for a long time. Very amazing man, actually, amazing energy person.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It's good to be here with so many dignified people. And this effort particularly, and thank you for your effort for what you've done here, taking this despot out of that area. And the world dealt with him way too long. Certainly, our industry knows that this is a real jewel that can be developed for the people of Venezuela, and also benefit the world. And like Secretary Wright said, it has not been done. That's not been done in the past, and they had a good chance at it. Brought someone in that totally took it down, as everybody knows here. And
Did we rug or did I rug?
for the opportunity for a lot of people in this
No,
room,
you're good.
but
I was
also for America.
gonna play the video, then I
Are you
realized
going to be
that
involved in going
it
in?
just
Because,
messed
he's in North Dakota and he's in Oklahoma and some incredible places. It's a little bit different.
your video that you
There's no doubt about it.
had
You
up
won't
there.
have to worry about the straw too much here. You can just
I was
go
checking
at it.
out
Are you going to be
checking
one
out
of
your
the
profile.
participants?
Well, certainly,
I was gonna
Did you get a
say for
wallet
the
Barry
I don't
Switzer,
see.
told that story.
Yeah, if you get a wallet, I'll
He's
send you
kind
a
of
tip.
exaggerated a little bit. It doesn't come out that
Okay.
quite that easily usually, but anyway, great story. I love it. And I love Barry.
Barry's the one that told me this.
Yeah, he's a champion, and in a lot of ways. So love that story. Certainly, it excites me as an explorationist. Everybody has that in their blood, and it is a very exciting country and a lot of reserves. And so it's got its challenges, and the industry knows how to handle that. And like Darren said, you go into your eyes open and do the best you can with the team you got. So
Well, you're going to
thank
have
you.
something that they never had really here is tremendous security. You're going to be very secure, very safe, physically safe, in addition to financially safe. So it's good to see you, Harold. Thank you very much. Does anybody have anything to say before we get to the press?
Oh man.
Well, Cuba's in bad shape. Cuba relied on Venezuela for oil and for money. And nobody really knows what's going to happen with Cuba. They're doing very poorly. They're really third world all the way. And we have a lot of great Cuban Americans. And I would say Marco fits very solidly into that category. And I might ask you to say a few words about, we were discussing it before, Cuba is a very different, they don't have energy, they don't have oil, but they would live off of the oil from
They got Cuban
Venezuela.
cigars,
And
though.
what they do have is very strong people and very powerful people militarily, and they would protect the people running Venezuela, and they would take in a lot of money from Venezuela. Now they don't have that. They won't be taking in any money. So, Marco, what do you think?
Well, I mean, the fundamental problem in Cuba is that it's run by incompetent people that don't know what an economy looks like, much less a functioning one. They've made a choice, and that is they would rather have political control over their people than they would have an economy that functions. And they've gotten away with it for 60-something years because they've had donors, the Soviet Union, and now most recently Venezuela. But that's now gone. So the people in control in Cuba have a choice to make. They can either have a real country with a real economy where their people can prosper, or they can continue with their failing dictatorship that's going to lead to systemic and societal collapse. That's a very stark and dramatic choice, and it's one we hope to make the right one. We don't have an interest in a destabilized Cuba, but that would be their fault because they refuse to allow the people of Cuba to have either economic or political freedom for that matter.
And you have a lot of people in this country that want to go back to Cuba and help Cuba. A lot of people have left, they came in penniless, they didn't have anything, and they've become very rich people in our country, and they want to very much go back and help Cuba. So that's something that Cuba has that a lot of other places don't have. Peter?
President Trump, thank you. I do want to ask you about Minnesota, but first, just more on topic. President Zelensky said that he was watching with the rest of the world as you made this order to go and capture Nicolas Maduro. And he said, if that's how it works with dictators, then the United States knows what to do next. It sounds like he wants you to go and capture Vladimir Putin. Would you ever order a mission to go and capture Vladimir Putin?
Well, I don't think it's going to be necessary. I think we're going to have I've always had a great relationship with him. I'm very disappointed. I settled 8 wars. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack or maybe one of the easier ones. And I don't know if you know, Peter, the last month, they lost 31,000 people, many of them Russian soldiers, and the Russian economy is doing poorly. I think we're going to end up getting it settled. I wish we could have done it quicker because a lot of people are dying, and mostly soldiers. You know, they get hit in Kiev and they get hit a little bit here and there, and people are dying there too. But largely, it's the soldier population. When you have 30,000, 31,000 soldiers dying in a period of a month, 27,000 the month before, 26,000 the month before that, that's bad stuff. So, as you know, President Biden gave $350 billion to Ukraine to fight. And we would never get that back, although I did make a rare earth deal to get it back. So we will be getting it back, but shouldn't have done that. It was a bad thing to do. I will say that right now, because I was able to get NATO to up GDP from 2% to 5%, NATO's got a lot of money, and they're paying for everything. We're not losing any money. We're making a lot of money, I guess, if you think of it, because we're selling them military equipment. They're probably giving it to Ukraine, but we're selling them to NATO military equipment. We're getting full price and all of that, but that's not a big deal to me. What is a big deal is stopping a war where 30,000 people are being killed every single month.
On Minnesota, the vice president yesterday suggested that Renee Good, who was killed by this ICE officer, was part of a broad left-wing network. What has your team told you about this broad left-wing network? Who is in charge of it? Who's part of it? What's it called?
Well, I haven't seen the vice president's statement, but he's generally very accurate. I hate to say, look,
led by Sleepy Joe Biden
yesterday, and there are a lot of different forms to it. But there was a woman screaming, "Shame, shame, shame, shame." She was a agitator, probably a paid agitator, but in my opinion, she was an agitator, a very high-level agitator, so professional. She wouldn't stop screaming. I said, "This isn't a normal situation. This is a professional troublemaker." Because you heard it and I had it. Now, I will say this. The news sort of turned her down, turned her off, because you're trying to watch. She was so loud and so crazy and just not normal. When somebody sees something like that, they don't go screaming and the same words. So I guess you could say professional, but I didn't think she did a very good job. You have agitators, and we will always be protecting ICE, and we're always going to be protecting our Border Patrol and our law enforcement. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in your conversations with these oil executives today, did you provide any security guarantees so that they can do their work safely in Venezuela? Yeah. And separately, Mr. President,
they will have those guarantees, yes.
And separately, Mr. President, I'm curious in terms of the future of Venezuela. Do you see Venezuela, now led by Delcy Rodriguez, as an ally of the U.S.? Is that the way that you view that country
right now? They seem to be an ally, and I think it'll continue to be an ally. And we don't want to have Russia there. We don't want to have China there. And by the way, we don't want Russia or China going to Greenland, which if we don't take Greenland, you're going to have Russia or China as your next door neighbor. That's not going to happen. The white.
Mr. President, thank you. You just said that these companies would have security guarantees if they go in on the ground in Venezuela.
They will have.
And what is your plan there actually for these companies and those Americans who are going to be on the ground working for these companies?
Well, there are going to be Americans. I assume they're going to be using a lot of Americans, but they're going to be using a lot of people from Venezuela and other places, I would imagine. But I would think that mostly they'll be using Venezuelan workers. They have a lot of great workers. They have a very high unemployment rate, and they have workers that are very familiar with taking oil out of the ground. Yeah.
How long do you think the Ayatollah will be in power after what we've seen play out on the ground there? When is the U.S. going to get involved now that reports of protesters being killed on the ground?
So Iran's in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts. So we don't want that to happen. There have been cases like this where President Obama totally backed down. But this is something pretty incredible that's happening in Iran. It's an amazing thing to watch. They've done a bad job. They've treated their people very badly, and now they're being paid back. So let's see what happens. We're watching it. We're watching it very closely. Go ahead, please. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Do you have any comments in reaction to the recent attacks by the Syrian government alignment groups against US-backed Kurdish forces in Aleppo, Syria, which killed dozens of civilians and displacing many families? Does your administration bring peace between the Kurds and the Syrian government?
I want to see.
Look at that one. Could U.S. strikes Iran could lock that in.
That's a good lock-in. I will tell you, you were talking about tariffs. I was just going to say, I thought that Trump would be super annoyed at first, but then I thought about it. I was just like, tariffs were mostly, in my opinion, and I could be wrong. Like I said, I could be wrong. This is me just overthinking a lot of stuff, but I was like, it could be one of those deals where obviously like the tariffs were just being used as a negotiation tactic to get, more favorable trade deals. And so to that effect, they've worked so far at this point. Obviously, if they get struck down and we still don't have anything with China, then yeah, that kind of screws things over. But, for everywhere else, I mean, it seems to have worked out a little bit. So, and, it would be, to me, it would be cool if we were able to actually just use tariffs as our tax to fund the government as opposed to income tax and all that stuff. But I will not hold my breath in that regard. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take this bet that he's out by the 31st. Like, why not? It's a good bet there.
I mean, honestly, like with the way things are going and how fast things seem to be progressing, I mean, it seems pretty.
Yeah, like if people are storming and then Trump just said he'll drop bombs, like.
Yeah, well, and that's when he was like, I'll just start shooting people, or like things will start happening if any of the protesters are killed or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure some protesters have been killed already, but I mean, I could be wrong in that regard.
I'm a representative of the country, nothing else. And she's coming in sometime next week.
How's the volume now? Is there any difference?
And we'll see how.
I mean, it's all right. I mean, it's just one of those things. It was like one of those where the volume was like almost exactly the same as your volume, so it was kind of just like mixing together.
Thank you so much. I have a question for you on Minneapolis, but on Venezuela and your meeting with Machado next week. If she gives you her will that change your view about her running that country?
Well, I have to speak to her. I mean, I'm going to have to speak to her. She might be involved in some aspect.
Hey, if she gives him the Nobel Peace Prize, like I'm writing to Polymarket, I want a refund on my bet.
The reason is because Norway is very embarrassed.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think they were saying they were going to give it to, like, that lady was going to give it to him or something, but I don't know if she actually does.
Big ones. Some going
that was
on
a
for
big
36
bet.
years, 32 years, 31 years, 28 years, 25 years. Some just getting ready to start, like India and Pakistan, where already 8 jets were shot out of the air. And I got it done in rapid order without nuclear weapons. I can't think of anybody in history that should get the Nobel Prize more than me. And I don't want to be bragging, but nobody else settled wars. Obama got the Nobel Prize. He had no idea why. He still has no idea. He walks around.
I think I should get the Nobel Peace Prize because I just think I've done a lot.
Upon attaining office, and he didn't do anything, and he was a bad president. So, I mean, you should get the Nobel Prize for every war you stopped. These were major wars. These were wars that nobody thought could be stopped. President Putin called me and he said about 2 of the wars that he's been trying to stop them for 10 years. He wasn't able to do it. He couldn't believe it. So in theory, you should get the Nobel Prize for every war you stopped. Every one of them was major. But I don't care about that. What I care about is saving lives. I've saved tens of millions of lives. You know, the Prime Minister of Pakistan came here and he made a very public statement. He said that President Trump saved minimum 10 million lives having to do with Pakistan and India, and that was going to be raging. So, you know, but I'm honored that she's coming here. I look forward to meeting her, yes.
And I'm Minneapolis, ever Poland.
Go ahead.
On Minneapolis, Mr. President, I have a follow-up for you. The state officials there have said that the FBI is not sharing evidence with them. Typically, they would conduct a joint investigation, as you know. Do you believe that the FBI should be sharing evidence with state officials in Minnesota?
Well, normally I would, but they're crooked officials. I mean, Minneapolis and Minnesota, what a beautiful place, but it's being destroyed. It's got an incompetent governor, fool. I mean, he's a stupid person. And it looks like the number could be $19 billion stolen from a lot of people, but largely people from Somalia. They buy their vote. They vote in a group. They buy their vote. They sell more Mercedes-Benzes in that area than almost. Can you imagine? You come over with no money, and then shortly thereafter, you're driving a Mercedes-Benz. The whole thing is ridiculous. So they're very corrupt people. It's a very corrupt state. I feel that I won Minnesota. I think I won it all 3 times.
Oh, man.
Nobody's won it since Richard Nixon won it many, many years ago. I won it all 3 times, in my opinion. And it's a corrupt state, a corrupt voting state. And the Republicans ought to get smart and demand on voter ID. They ought to demand maybe same-day voting and all of the other things that you have to safe election. But I won Minnesota 3 times and I didn't get credit for it. I did so well in that state every time. The people were crying every time after. That's a crooked state. California is a crooked state. Many crooked states. We have a very, very dishonest voting system. The last time I won, 24, the one that just took place, I won because it was too big to rig. You couldn't rig it. It was too big. But I won the state of Minnesota. It's a corrupt voting system with an incompetent governor, a very incompetent governor.
President.
And by the way, he's a very corrupt governor, too. Go ahead.
I have a question on Iran, but first, very quickly on Venezuela. How do you provide total security guarantees to these companies without putting U.S. boots on the ground?
Well, we're going to work with the Venezuelan leaders and people, and we're going to have a very safe group. And they're going to also bring over some security with them. You know, these are not babies. These are people that drill oil in some pretty rough places. I could say a couple of those places make Venezuela look like a picnic. These people around the table, these are tough people. They go into areas that you wouldn't want to go. They go into areas that if they invited me, I'd say, no, thanks. I'll see you back in Palm Beach. No, this is a tough group of people. They know how to do it. But we are, in addition to that, we'll have very good security for them. We're going to make sure there's very, very good security. And I think the people of Venezuela are going to give you very good security. You know, the people... Now, I'm not talking even leadership. The people of Venezuela are going wild over this. They named a street after President Trump. What do? You attack a country and they name a street? That's never happened before. Although I heard that's also taking place in Iran. They named a street. The protesters. I just hope, just God bless them. I just hope the protesters in Iran are going to be safe because that's a very dangerous place right now. And again, I tell the Iranian leaders, you better not start shooting because we'll start shooting too. With your glasses, sir, go ahead, please. Hold it. Next to you. Yes, glasses. The gentleman with the glasses.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
With those very big glasses, actually.
Yeah, Ferrari, actually. Mr. President, I have 2 questions. What do you want the European Union to do in Ukraine? The European leaders seem pretty divided on Ukraine. And then if you can reiterate this straight message that you have to the Iranian leader, to Khomeini, the message that you have.
You're talking about Iran?
Oh, Iran, yeah.
What
the
do
first
I want
one is on
Iran
Europe.
to do?
I'm sorry?
Where are you from?
Italy.
Oh, nice place.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first question
So
is
what
on
are you
Europe.
asking about Iran for?
Well, if you can answer about Europe and what you think the Europeans should do on Ukraine, and then a message.
Well, look, Europe has been doing so much for Ukraine, but it hasn't been enough. And obviously that I would say that President Putin is not afraid of Europe. He's afraid of the United States of America, as led by me. there's no fear of Europe.
Damn, you hear that,
Europe's fallen
Putin?
behind, and Europe. And JD said it very strongly. I don't know. It's he took a lot of heat, but I didn't give him any heat. Europe is a different place. Europe is changing. Europe has got to get its act together. I love Europe. I guess I came from Europe essentially. I have my roots are in Europe, but Europe is a different place. They have to get their act together. Now they've said they have a great NATO leader, and they've gone up to 5% from 2% GDP. That's a big step. But they have to be very careful with their immigration policy, and they have to be very, because, I will just say, to be nice, that there are certain places in Europe that are very important that are no longer recognizable. I'm being very nice. I'm being very diplomatic when I say that they are not recognizable. And they have to be careful on energy because they're putting windmills all over the place and losing a fortune. They're destroying their country. They're just destroying the beautiful landscapes, the beautiful everything. They're doing. And by the way, in case you people don't know, I'm not much of a windmill person. I can proudly say, Doug, that we have not approved one windmill since I've been in office, and we're going to keep it that way. My goal is to not let
I don't like
windmill people, they're
windmills. In
losers.
case anybody was
They lose money,
wondering,
they
I do
destroy
not
your
like them
landscape, they
at
kill your
all.
birds. They're all made in China. And
I
all
don't
you have to do
mind.
is,
I don't necessarily
just
think I
about all of
mind
the
windmills.
windmills are
I
made
know.
in China.
I
The
definitely don't mind
structures,
like the little
all you have to do is say to China,
personal ones
how
that you can
many
attach to your house.
windmill areas do you have in China?
Maybe the bigger
So
ones though
far,
are a
they're
little
not able
more
to find any.
onerous,
They use
but
coal and they use oil
yeah.
and gas
I mean, if you live in a
and
windy
some nuclear,
spot,
not much,
you could probably
but they
get like
don't
a
have
little
windmills.
personal
They make them
windmill
and sell them to suckers like
and do
Europe
pretty good.
and suckers like the United States before. They are the worst form of energy, the most expensive form of energy, and in 8 years they're rotted out anyway. Go take a look at Palm Springs, California, and take a look at what that looks like. It looks like a junkyard of steel. So we don't approve, and I've told my people, we will not approve windmills. Maybe we get forced to do something because some stupid person in the Biden administration agreed to do something years ago. We will not approve any windmills in this country.
Two questions. On Venezuela, is it ultimately more important to you to establish stability there or democracy there?
Well, you're talking about maybe the same thing. I mean, you're talking about stability or democracy. I don't know. To me, it's almost the same thing. We want stability, but we do want democracy. Ultimately, it'll be democracy. Peter?
I do have a policy question, President Trump, but I'm having a hard time seeing here. I see the American flag lapel pin. What is the other lapel pin on
Somebody gave me this. You know what that is? That's called a happy Trump. And considering the fact that I'm never happy, I'm never satisfied. I will never be satisfied until we make America great again, but we're getting pretty close, I'll tell you what. This is called a happy Trump. Somebody gave it to me. I put it on.
Thank you. And the policy question. How much money are you thinking of giving people in Greenland to get them on board with a possible U.S.
I'm not talking about money for Greenland yet. I might talk about that. But right now, we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland. And we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Okay? I would like to make a deal, the easy way. But if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. And I'm a man. And by the way, I'm a fan of Denmark too. I have to tell you. And they've been very nice to me. I'm a big fan. But the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also. But we need that because if you take a look outside of Greenland right now, there are Russian destroyers, there are Chinese destroyers and bigger. There are Russian submarines all over the place. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland, either the nice way or the more difficult way. Please, go ahead, ma'am.
President, why is it so important to you to own it when you have a military presence there, which you could expand to affect the security?
Because when we own it, we defend it. You don't defend leases the same way. You have to own it. And, with a nation, look at what happened with Obama with that horrible deal they made with Iran. It was a short-term deal. It was like a 9-year deal. Countries can't make 9-year deals or even 100-year deals. Countries have to have ownership. And you defend ownership, you don't defend leases. And we'll have to defend Greenland. If we don't do it, China or Russia will. Not going to happen. We are not going to have, and I like China. I like Russia. I love the people of China. I love the people of Russia. I get along very well with President Putin, but I'm very disappointed in him. I get along very well with President Xi. I'm going to go over to China in April, but I don't want them as a neighbor in Greenland. Not going to happen. And by the way, and NATO's got to understand that. I'm all for NATO. I saved NATO. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have a NATO right now. But we're not going to allow Russia or China to occupy Greenland, and that's what's going to happen if we don't. Go ahead.
Report that came out today, Mr. President. One, can you respond to that? And two,
it was an amazing report. The most amazing thing is government jobs are way down, and yet the unemployment or the employment numbers are very good. We've gotten rid of tremendous numbers of federal government jobs. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And yet the employment numbers are very good. They're really getting better. But now we have all those people to work in the private sector for a lot more money. I think that's one of the very big things. The other thing is at 5.4%. And remember, this is after we had a shutdown. And that shutdown had an impact because the concept of the shutdown, even though it's before, people knew we were going to be shutting down. A lot of bad things happened. And by the way, on January 30th, you may have another shutdown. We'll see what happens. But I think the numbers, Caitlin, were really amazing. Look, to think about 5.4%, nobody thought that. They thought it was going to be 2%. And you know what it is? It's tariffs. And it's also November 5th. We had a great election, a great election. Our country was dead 1.5 years ago. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And I hope you guys were impressed. 5.4%. And we haven't even really transitioned yet. There's no reason it can't be much, much higher than that. Yeah.
first off, can you respond to the manufacturing
Let's
number?
give CNN a chance. You know, they've been fighting so hard to get back into the mainstream.
Mr. President, you posted some numbers actually on Truth Social last night. People saying you posted the job data early when you're not supposed to obviously share it till the next morning. Did you do that on purpose?
No, I don't know. If they posted them, I said post them whenever you get a chance. I don't know. They gave me some numbers. When people give me things, I post them. But the numbers are amazing. Yeah, please.
Does the administration plan to distribute the money from the Venezuela oil sales? Is it, well, obviously you say it's going to go into these controlled accounts.
Yeah.
Would it go back to Venezuela in a direct payment? Is it going through these goods? How do you plan to do that?
Well, we want to make sure that Venezuela can survive. You know, Venezuela needs money, and we're going to make sure that they get money, and we're going to get money, and the oil companies are going to make something for the work they do, and they're going to get back their money. We're devising a formula, but it won't be so much of a formula. It's going to be what they need. We're going to take care of what they need. There'll be plenty left over. We're going to have a lot of money left over. And the money left over is going to the United States of America, and the oil companies are going to be very happy. Yep.
Thank you, Mr.
Would the administration offer a backstop to these oil companies for like financial guarantees, some sort of backstop, if the country did destabilize again?
That's a very interesting question. Using the word backstop, I haven't heard that word in a long time. That was at the Wharton School of Finance I last heard. That's a good term. We ought to use it more often. I hope I don't have to give a backstop. I'm just, look, these are very smart people, the smartest people. They're not only in oil and business. These are the biggest companies in the world sitting around this table. They know the risks. I mean, there are risks. We're going to help them out. We're going to make it real easy. They're going to be there for a long time. We're going to be there together for a long, long time. They're going to be taking the oil, and they're going to be bringing oil prices down. They're going to make a lot of money. They're going to get their money back. They're going to be safe. The people of Venezuela are going to be big beneficiaries, and the United States of America is going to be a big beneficiary for what we've done.
All right, folks,
and you know, one other thing I might say, it's also very big for national security because, again, just like Greenland, we can't have China or Russia occupy Greenland. We can't have China or Russia occupy Venezuela. And if we didn't do what we did, China or Russia would have been in Venezuela. I think I can, where's Mr. Chevron? So let me ask you, They would have been there if we didn't do this. Do you agree with that?
They certainly have a lot of economic interests in country. There's absolutely no argument about that.
They were trying to be there. I mean, you know, we had a Russia, I guess, sort of I call it a semi-Russian ship yesterday that we took over, and Russia decided not to defend that ship against us. It's a big movement. The ship was loaded up with oil, and we took the oil, and it came out of that port. But Russia would be there or China would be there, and we want them to be there for a different reason. We want them. Do you people agree? In particular, China, they need a lot of oil. Russia doesn't need so much, but Russia was there anyway. But I assume you agree that China would like to be doing a lot of business there by buying oil. And I want to just tell President Xi and President Putin, but more so in this case, President Xi, because they do need a lot of oil. And we are open for business in the United States, and we are open for business in Venezuela, right?
All right, everybody, you have been listening to President Trump, that press conference continuing, of course, surrounded by major oil executives from the United States. You've got the Chevron vice chair there, Mark Nelson, Exxon CEO Darren Woods, Conoco's chairman and CEO Ryan Lance, Harold Hamm, founder and head of Continental Resources. And then, of course, you've had the U.S. Energy Secretary, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of the U.S. Interior. But I think the way it kind of finished, at least as the reporters continue to question, but that idea of kind of a message to Russia and really to China that if the U.S. did not do this in Venezuela, that they would be there. So again, accessing the oil that is there specifically. And I think one of the key things that was asked was what kind of guarantees do these energy companies have in terms of going into Venezuela if they rebuild up the infrastructure and the energy industry there, what security guarantees? And the president talked specifically about security guarantees, financial guarantees. So certainly time will tell as the specifics roll out, but something that we are certainly monitoring. We've got a great guest that we want to kind of talk to about some of what we just heard in this event. We'll continue to monitor too and bring you any headlines as they are known.
In the meantime, just checking on how markets closed out the day today. We did see new records on the S&P 500 and on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The S&P 500 up more than 0.6%. We can round that up to 0.7% today. The Dow up 0.5 percentage point. In the S&P 500, industry groups that were in the green, everything except for financials and healthcare. Healthcare down 0.6%. Materials, the best performer, up 1.8%.
Quick check in terms of treasuries. This was a jobs report day. Hard to remember considering everything that's going on. We are looking at a 10-year that actually earlier in the session popped up to 4.2% on the yield. We're looking at about 4.16 and looking at the shorter end of the yield curve, kind of finishing just off its highs of this session. We're looking at a yield of just about 3.53. Oil also spiking, but again, we've got some geopolitical tensions over in Iran. So that is something that we've been watching. New York crude up 1.8%. Do want to point out Apple, which has been
an important one
on a 7-day losing streak, snapped today as we did see Apple shares just a little bit moving to the upside, just up about 0.1%. And got to mention home builders. While we are focusing on the oil companies, and we've seen kind of a mixed bag, we did see Exxon and Chevron a little bit higher in today's session coming off of this meeting. Home builders, they rallied in a big way. We saw them under pressure earlier in the week. This, as the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick recently met with some executives from home building, the home building sector, looking to figure out ways, according to people in the know, how we can make or how they can make housing more affordable. So there's a lot going on, and we're seeing certainly market reaction. Again, the home building sector as a whole, Tim, up about 7%. But we want to go back to what's going on in Venezuela and what's going on geopolitically around the globe.
I want to bring in Rockford White's professor of practice and director of the Maritime Studies program at Tufts University's Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. He joins us from Medford, Massachusetts. Rocky, I do want to thank you for your patience as we heard from the president and oil executives and members of the president's cabinet over the last hour or so. We do thank you for sticking by. A lot of places we want to go with you, but I want to start with something the president said just at the end of what we heard him say just now. And it was about making sure that the U.S. went to Venezuela so China and Russia didn't. Do you agree with him that had the U.S. not gone there, China or Russia would have gotten power through Venezuela?
So the short answer is yes, and no problem waiting. That was fascinating press conference. So happy to talk about a bunch of different things. The short answer is correct. Both Russia
I
and
just
China are
saw a
making
post
inroads into
from
Venezuela under the
Polymarket
Maduro
saying
regime.
the Iranian
That
protesters
era
have
is
nearly
beyond being over.
captured Iran's
Wow. Okay. Who was more
second
likely to
largest
get
city.
control? And what did they want to do in Venezuela?
I
Like,
just
what would they
scratched out that
use
one that
not
said
just
peak
Venezuelan assets
out in
perhaps for, but
2006 as a
maybe
40
Venezuelan
cent loss.
territory?
So
Well,
I'm
so
glad that I
should
did that. I
clarify
might,
a little bit.
and I
So
see that it's
not really
up like
control,
now.
just be the sort of
It's like
primary
60% chance
trading
he's out.
power ally of Venezuela, which is a relatively small country, especially when you're comparing to China and Russia and the United States. So uh, what they were looking for, so different things. Russia was looking for basing rights in the Americas for their navy and their air force. Also, potentially some of the critical minerals that Venezuela is a very resource-rich country, not just with crude oil, but also with critical minerals and many, many other things. China was looking, has an interest in the oil and also the critical minerals, and also perhaps long-term, perhaps basing rights for their Navy or Air Force, but they were really focused on economics as part of their Belt and Road Initiative. It sounds, listening to President Trump, that the commercial piece of it will continue with China at least. I don't think there's that much commerce naturally happening between Russia and Venezuela, though Russia, of course, is under sanctions from the United States.
What do you make of, when the president says, and I'm looking for the headline here, that the United States will closely integrate the Venezuelan and U.S. economies? What exactly does that mean?
Well, so the honest answer is we'll see what it means. What I think it means is essentially a return to the past, in the sense that Venezuela and the United States were highly integrated economies for much of the 20th century, if not all of the 20th century. Essentially, once Chavez took power in 1999, things started to change. But the United States and the Venezuelan economies were very much integrated economically, particularly with their oil industry. Their oil, which President Trump actually correctly said is really very good for making asphalt. It's not the best oil. It's very expensive to refine. And we have refineries designed almost specifically to refine the very heavy crude oil that Venezuela produces. And those trade flows continued actually even under Chavez and Maduro because of the economic interests. So I'm happy to elaborate on any of those.
I guess what I'm just trying to understand is what's the key takeaway? Like in some of the conversations we've had today, Professor White's, there's an understanding that we know we need more power and more energy in all its forms, whether it's carbon based, whether it's renewable, whether it's nuclear. And maybe even though the world and the US is awash in oil today, longer term, we need to develop this. So maybe this is a smart longer term strategy for the United States. So I'm wondering, is that what this is about? That mineral raw material grab that needs to be done, that the whole world kind of seems to be a part of. But I also do wonder about what this means geopolitically about President Trump when it comes to Russia and President Xi, Russia's president, to Putin, who he says he gets along with. But again, he seems to be sending them a very strong message. He also has talked about, he was questioned about Greenland and saying we can do it the easy way or the hard way, but basically we want Greenland. So I'm just trying to understand what the big takeaway is. What's the most important aspect of all this? We see all these oil executives, but I wonder if it's really something else.
Oh, okay. That's a very interesting question. Let me see if I can. So I think it's hard to come up with one key takeaway given the wide-ranging conversation that was that press conference. So why don't I try for three? So I think the three key takeaways from that press conference were: number one, the Trump administration is implementing its new national security strategy, which was issued in December, that essentially says the United States is going to become, or not become, but strengthen its position as the primary great power operating in the Americas. Box checked, because with Venezuela, a regime that was not friendly to the United States is now being transitioned to a more U.S. friendly regime, though that's going to be a hard challenge. That's number one. Number two, the other great powers are uncomfortable today. Russia is very uncomfortable. We can talk about the seizures of Russian tankers, dark fleet tankers. This, to me, is the second key takeaway, which is what has happened. It's related to Venezuela. So, what President Putin has been trying to do to Zelensky in Ukraine, which is depose Zelensky and essentially become the great power where Ukraine is in its sphere of influence. They've been trying to do that for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years. The anniversary, 4 years anniversary will be on February 24th, 2022. President Trump did that effort with Maduro in less than 4 hours. What that showed is, and this is the second key takeaway, is that the United States military is significantly stronger than the Russian military. And how that ripple effect came to the tankers is that the tanker that was seized just south of Iceland, the Marinera, it had tried to reflag as a Russian flag, and we can go into why that wouldn't work. But basically, it had a Navy escort, a Russian submarine escort, and it was still seized by the Coast Guard. So we could talk about that. But
so your point is, by doing what they did in Venezuela, has shown the military might of the United States. And
that's the second key takeaway.
So President
I have third one when you're ready.
So President Putin, take heed. President Xi, take heed. World, take heed. And just quickly, what your third point is.
The third point is that we're still in. So Trump still almost can't help himself, continues talking about Denmark and Greenland as it is. So Denmark is part of North America, and I'm happy. I'm the Arctic lead at the Fletcher School, and I've spent a lot. I know the Greenlandic Prime Minister and Foreign Minister.
We love this. Go.
In October, so I have lots of opinions on that. But essentially, the third key takeaway is that there's going to be some kind of arrangement, or at least discussion. That's all public negotiation between the Danes and the Greenlanders in the United States. Unclear where that lands, but I have a lot of opinions on it if you're interested.
Well, we don't have much time, but the president did say on Greenland, we'll make a deal the easy way or the hard way. How is it going to go down in your view? And what is the easy way and what's the hard way? Just very briefly.
Yeah, okay, you got it. I'll be fast. So I said, so there's essentially three options for the United States, Greenland, and Denmark. So the preferred one, in my opinion, is a diplomatic solution where Greenland, so Greenland has been seeking some kind of independence from Denmark for a while. How that actually, so the way to think about it is, what is the position of Greenland in the 21st century? And the easy way is to solve that through kind of friendly diplomacy, because we actually are all friends. There's another option, which would be that the United States actually purchases Greenland like it purchased the U.S. Virgin Islands from Denmark about 100 years ago. And then the third option, which I think is completely unrealistic, would be a military acquisition of it. And I almost think it's almost not worth talking about. To quote Senator Kennedy, that's weapons grade stupid.
But what's likely? And you're saying something's going to happen, and the U.S. is going to increase its presence there and control over this. That's the bottom line. And what do you think is likely the path there?
I'll quote a Greenlandic friend of mine. Here's what's going to happen. Trump will help make Greenland great again.
What does that
mean?
And
I can tell you what I think the scenario is.
Which is what?
That Greenland may actually become independent from Denmark, may join NATO, may join the Arctic Council as the 9th member. Doesn't mean Denmark is not part of the Arctic Council. Still has the Faroe Islands, so it's still an Arctic nation. And essentially, Greenland positions itself as a new independent country for the 21st century with a security alliance with the United States, but still part of NATO, becomes formally part of the Arctic Council. And I think that's probably what would happen in the next year or two.
I feel like I just want to go, whoa,
Yeah.
because it does feel like the world is being divvied up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we're probably going to be calling on Rocky again in the near future. So,
Rocky, thank you so
appreciate
much.
your time, Rocky.
Is there any other parts of the world, 30 seconds, that we should be watching? That there's something
Carol
else?
Carol can't say goodbye.
I know, I can't say goodbye. Just 30 seconds. Is there anything else like in the world that we should be watching?
Keep an eye on Iran. Keep an eye on Iran.
She's on
I think we might see a change of government in Iran in the next 30 days.
All right. Rocky White's professor of practice and director of the Maritime Studies program at Tufts University's Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. He's got his JD from Harvard Law as well. He joins us from Medford, Massachusetts this afternoon. Hey, I do want to remind everybody where we are on Friday afternoon, about 4 o'clock, and markets have been closed for about that time. Let's head on over to Charlie Pellet for an update on everything happening after hours. It's a busy day, Charlie.
Indeed. What a day. What a week. Let's get right to the numbers. Looking at records right now, both on the Dow, the S&P 500 index, also the Russell 2000 index. The S&P today higher by 44, wrapping up the week, heading into the weekend, 69.66, a gain of 0.6%.
We're still back.
Dow Industrials, 49,504, up 238 today, a gain of 0.5%. The Nasdaq Composite Index up 191, up 0.8. The Russell 2000 Index up today by 0.8%.
Our crypto hermit fund, or what was it called again?
3.53%. Gold surged $32 the ounce, 45.09, up 0.7, and a big move for silver just below.
I'm going to say, I mean, he said, right, like it's going to be leadership change within the next 30 days is what that one guy said. So,
Very last major focus today on crude at the White
I went
House,
the other way.
specifically
So
big oil and Venezuela. West Texas Intermediate crude
I
up
think
1.9%.
yeah, that's kind
he
of
may have
crazy.
to mute the
Chevron up 1.8% today.
other.
ExxonMobil up 1.4%.
Now, like, I mean,
Interestingly, though,
does that mean it's
Yeah.
going to get worse over there or better? I mean,
lower today by 1.2%. Cannot ignore the move in those mortgage stocks. They surged after President Trump said yesterday on his social media platform that he was directing the purchase of $200 billion in mortgage bonds. We saw companies like Loan Depot, Rocket, and Open Door all surge. Open Door up 13.4%, Rocket up 9.6%, and Loan Depot up today by 19.3%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Hey, thanks so much for that update, Charlie. Do appreciate it.
X
Just want
feed.
to remind
You
everybody.
reversed the X feed. What was that called? The Hermit's.
The S&P 500 in terms of
something.
how it moved, record day, closed at a new record. The
Say that again. I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Nasdaq Composite did not, but in the S&P 500,
We're talking about it in
materials, utilities, consumer discretionary,
in designated
led the
degens
day.
where you
Two
reverse.
industry groups
You do
were in the
reverse the
red, financial
timeline for the
And Apple bucking
for
a
Hermit's.
trend. I've seen, I think, 7 consecutive down days. Hey, let's talk a little bit
And
more
you take
about the markets.
you take investments and
here
you
with us is,
reverse
of
the
course,
you do it
Mike
what's
Regan,
opposite
who
of the
follows,
timeline says.
the
So when it
market
says
trends
when
and
people
I'm
the
start
not
saying
sure.
we're so
I'm not
bad,
sure if I can
Just an
reverse
interesting day. It
anything.
was an interesting
I'll
week.
try
So
my
how are you
best
thinking
though.
about how we wrapped up here?
I think President Trump threw so much at the market this week,
He did.
especially.
It was whipsawed depending on the day.
It
for
was,
certain
but
sectors.
I think this focus on the housing industry has really got people excited because, you look at these home builders. Okay, as far as market cap goes in the indexes, these things hardly matter. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
S&P 1500 home building index, 18 stocks. 176 billion in market cap for all 18 of them. So to put that in perspective, there's like 60 some single stocks in the S&P that are bigger than that
Mhm.
entire home building index. But if home builders are growing, you think about it, well, they're buying paint, they're buying lumber, they're employing very labor intensive industry. They're such a strong economically cyclical industry that if Trump is, and we saw the news today, Howard Lutnick meeting with home builders,
Right.
Trump wants to, buy this 200 billion in mortgage bonds to stimulate the housing market. The sort of knock on effects from them just seep into so many different, appliances. You think of all the things that go into a new home. The home builders themselves are, operate on thin margins. They're not a huge market cap, but boy, they really, enthusiasm for that group can spread to a wide variety of sectors.
Why did you think that markets shrugged off at the beginning of the week? geopolitical events from the weekend. What happened in Venezuela, it just did not seem, I mean, we had record after record this week.
Yeah.
And the year's off to a really strong start.
I think history shows that, sort of geopolitical flashpoints don't tend to have a major impact on the market in the longer term, unless, they really do something to destroy the economy. And I think, the general consensus, I think, is that Venezuela is somewhat of a one-off. If we invade Greenland over the weekend, I'll be eating my words. But, I think the market's thinking, Venezuela was sort of this festering problem for years. This is, despite the loss of life and the tension it creates, that, I think the market is seeing it as a positive.
Right. And certainly substantial for the plight of the Venezuelans. But
Right.
in terms of kind of the overall U.S. trade, I also do think it's fair to say that I think people are waiting for what the reality is of what we get from the White House in terms of policy. Having said that, something that was a big focal point today, Mike, was a possible Supreme Court decision on what is a pivotal part of President Trump's platform, and that is his global tariffs. It's gotten pushed to next week.
Yeah.
So this is now a focus next week, along with we get some earnings, we get some other stuff next week.
Yeah, so definitely sort of a banana peel waiting in front of us there, potentially
Well
on the
said.
tariffs. I mean, if you look at the sort of poly markets of the world, it's something like 75 to 25 probability that the Supreme Court will reject the tariffs. That said, obviously the White House, has
Other
signaled
levers, right?
that they will try to reassert them with other legal authorities. So
What does that do, though, do you think, based on what we saw back in April and Liberation Day? Because then once again, I think executives, as we get into earnings season, are quite like, so
Yeah.
what are we now? Once again, it's up in the air.
back into that uncertainty.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my guess is that the knee-jerk reaction would be risk on, right? Then we have to see how seriously the White House is, and sort of wait for analysts and economists to dissect the chances that they can sort of reinsert these tariffs.
Just 30 seconds. JP Morgan reports earnings.
It's
this is
weird.
next
It's
week.
good, I know.
Why?
Next week, January 13th.
But it's not like Thursday, Friday, a big drop.
No, this is next
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
13th,
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, they're always the first of the big banks to report, the first really major company to report.
But they're the only one, right?
I
On
think
that
there are a couple
Wednesday?
other banks that'll follow right after them. Yeah, they usually.
On that same day?
I'm not sure the same day. Boy, you're putting me on the spot here.
Sorry there. Sorry
I
there.
gotta get my calendar.
That's
out.
why we have the Bloomberg Terminal, Carol, so we can go look at EVTS Go.
Yeah.
And just see day by day.
So Goldman
So I'm not
Sachs-
going to make Mike do that.
So
I'll worry about that on Monday.
So JP
when I get my
Morgan's-
Dow 50,000.
So JP Morgan's on the 13th. Goldman Sachs is on the 15th.
Yeah.
And don't they normally?
JP Morgan tends to always be first. Sometimes there are others on the same day, but they, the big ones that tend to cluster in that first week.
But my question around this was just the tone that sets.
I'm a
based on the
Taurus.
results,
Things
and
have to go like
to what extent?
Yeah.
To what
Same.
extent that that report sets the tone for the season?
Majorly important, and not just for the banking sector. Obviously, we had this drought of data during the government shutdown. People are really, I think, going to look at the banks as a window into sort of the health of the consumer, try to fill in some of those blanks we got with that lack of data. And the credit market's obviously very important as well. We saw some shakiness, obviously, in private credit last year. So, there's definitely a lot to pay attention.
Sorry to get in the weeds on you on that one.
Mike, you can come back. Don't worry.
You can always
I'll
come
tell you
back.
when Carol's out. I'll tell you when Carol's out.
Ouch, that hurts. I love Mike Regan. Mike, thank you so much. Have a good weekend. And of course, with the market wrap up, and then also with what's maybe to come next week. Having said that, our team who has been tracking everything that happened at the White House, President Trump and his team with major oil executives, are Jen Deloy putting out a story. ExxonMobil, though, up about 1.4%. And Chevron, which we know is the only licensed major U.S. oil company that's been operating specifically in Venezuela, we see that one up almost 2%, closing the day. So it's kind of interesting to see. But I think it's safe to say time will tell. This is not a snap decision.
Yeah.
Even with guarantees from the president, it's still a lot of questions.
I think people have a lot of questions too about the fate of the president's tariffs. And that's exactly where we want to go now. The Supreme Court said Wednesday will be its next opinion day after leaving the market in suspense on Friday on the fate of President Trump's tariffs. It's his signature economic policy. Now, we should note that the court never says in advance what decisions are actually ready for release, only that rulings and argued cases are possible when the justices take the bench at 10 a.m. Washington time.
Which means we could be still waiting.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we have now with us Catherine Judge, the Harvey J. Goldschmidt Professor of Law at Columbia Law School. She's also the author of Direct, The Rise of the Middleman Economy and the Power of Going to the Source. She joins us here in the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. Welcome. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
We're doing well. We thought we could get a decision on those IEEPA tariffs. We hoped earlier today. We didn't get that. But what are the scenarios that we could be left with once we do hear from the Supreme Court? Like, what are the different things they could say about the tariffs?
I mean, that's probably what the White House and a lot of other people are gaming out right now, because there are a lot of directions that this could go. One is just like, is the White House going to win or lose? It looks like they might lose, but it's not just a question of win or lose, but how they potentially lose. I mean, so at the most extreme, you could imagine the court coming out and saying, look, there's like core constitutional issues here in terms of the vesting of this much authority in the White House, which closes more doors. The more narrow approach is, well, let's look at statutory interpretation. Let's look at the language of IEEPA. It doesn't actually use the word tariffs. It does have broad language, but it's safest to be read in a narrow way. In that case, you can imagine the White House potentially trying to roll out much of what it's done, though probably not all of what it's done, and certainly with a lot more procedural hurdles, using other tools. So I think what's really interesting is it's one of the many situations where we're really going to have to kind of wait and see, but there's a lot of planning that has to be happening behind the scenes.
Catherine, how difficult a legal argument is this for the Supreme Court justices to kind of work their way through?
It's very challenging, and it's very challenging in the sense that they're having to do it on such a short time frame. I mean, the Supreme Court has the joy normally of they get to let cases percolate through all the lower courts. They wait till multiple lower courts have issued very long and well-reasoned decisions, and then they get to grant cert, and then they have as much time as they want. So, you're never going to get an important decision before June. By contrast, here you have the challenge where you have a lower court that has actually said many of these tariffs are unlawful, but they stayed enforcement of that decision until the Supreme Court had the opportunity to weigh in. And so that just puts a lot of pressure on the court to act very quickly. I think it's acting as responsibly as it can in that regard under the circumstances, but you are dealing with both difficult questions of statutory interpretations, novel issues on that front, and core questions over the balance of power between Congress and the president. Those are big questions to have to answer quickly.
Do we have to think about the Supreme Court's relationship with President Trump thus far and the way the Supreme Court has seemed not to rein in this president?
I think we have to look at that, but we also don't want to look at that entirely. I mean, one of the things that we know is that the court does seem like it's been hesitant to ask the administration to do things, particularly if they're worried the administration might not comply.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that, because that's kind of uncharted territory, at least in modern history.
It is. I mean, we did see this in the 1930s with FDR. I do think there's a lot of ways that FDR is the closest analogy we have to the current president. He was kind of quite ambitious. He was a very strong executive. It's actually very interesting with everything that's been going on with the Federal Reserve, because of course FDR remade the Fed, and he was the one who had the biggest fights with the court. And a lot of the decisions the court is right now revisiting and having to look at are decisions from the 1930s that arose out of the first Roosevelt administration, because that's the last time we saw these similar concerns over, is the executive exercising too much power relative to what the Constitution wanted him to be able to exercise.
Well, this idea that, he could impose tariffs under emergency situations, like what constitutes, is that part of what they've got to figure out?
Well, I mean, so one of the questions is, do we have an adequate emergency, and what are the processes that he's used to identify this as an emergency?
Meaning the president.
The president of the White House. But there is this, again, that you're interpreting that against this background constitutional principle that actually the what's interesting, it's more of the conservative justices and the conservative politicians that have been very worried about left-leaning presidents being overly aggressive in using executive action to regulate the environment and to do things. So you've had these doctrines like the major questions doctrine, which are trying to ramp in kind of what the executive can do without more explicit granting of control from Congress.
So if let's just play out some scenarios here. If the Supreme Court comes out and says in no uncertain terms that the president is legal in his use of authority when it comes to these tariffs, then what are the implications of that for executive power beyond his ability
I was going to say,
impose tariffs?
That would actually be, of the various types of decisions they could issue, that would have the most significant ramifications.
And I'm not saying that's likely, and not many people think that's
I would say most people don't think that, but precisely because of this, because it would not only mean the executive has incredible discretion, particularly in defining emergencies, and the term emergency is used in a whole variety of other statutory contexts as well,
right,
to give the executive much greater authority than the executive the president otherwise enjoys. But it also has a lot of ramifications going forward, including when you have somebody else in the White House where they can't as easily say, well, if you're doing something big, Congress has to be a lot more clear about it, because suddenly you've allowed a president to do something very, very big with what is best vaguely worded, if broadly worded, congressional authorization.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking we should talk about the Fed.
We should talk about the Fed. I mean, I guess what I just wanted to follow, though, because I think this plays into it, this whole idea of checks and balances, it just ain't happening.
I was going to say it's not happening. And I think that's one of the things that, and this is one of the ways that's very different than the 1930s. In the 1930s, the Supreme Court was very aggressive in checking some of the most aggressive actions by the FDR.
Why are we here?
I mean, part of it is the court has not been standing up to the president, but I will also say that the Congress has not been stepping up to the president. So checks and balances is not really meant to rely primarily on the judiciary. It's Congress that is supposed to be the strongest, most aggressive, most empowered branch. And so a lot of what we're facing right now are challenges where the court's having to come in. And I'll also say there's an interesting dynamic within the judiciary. I mean, part of the reason the Supreme Court is having to act so quickly in so many of these cases is even though the Supreme Court hasn't ruled against the administration with frequency, lower courts have. And that's played a big role.
On the Supreme Court, we're also waiting to hear about the Supreme Court's view on the president being able to fire Lisa Cook. And we've spoken to you in the past about the president's role with this Federal Reserve. And I'm curious where you think that decision is going to go and the implications, especially as the president has yet to name his new Fed pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, so we really have a bunch of issues that are bundled in there. And it's looking at, is the Federal Reserve different relative to other independent agencies?
I thought we learned that it was.
We learned that it probably was in a very short, thinly reasoned decision that was handed down in one of these kind of emergency docket opinions.
Right.
So we have a clear signal from the court, because they also haven't issued a full decision on the merits over whether the other agencies are unconstitutional. They've kind of like very strongly hinted, look, that decision we issued in 1935 that allowed for the proliferation of other independent agencies, we're probably not going to let that stand.
Yeah.
And so it looks like that's probably going to go out the window. It looks like they're going to carve out something special for the Fed. But I think so first of all, then the question is, what does that actually mean? Does the allegations that have been made against Lisa Cook, against Governor Cook, do they suffice for cause? But I think longer term, there's a really big concern of, can the Fed stand alone as an independent agency? For a very long time, I mean, if we go back again to the history of the Fed, it was created to be independent in the 1930s. It didn't become independent until the 1950s. And a lot of what happened then is you had all of these other expert-driven agencies. You had faith in experts. Experts were doing great things. And so we were overall more comfortable with the rise of bureaucratic state. So it's both what the court is going to say, but it's also a question of the rhetoric. I mean, so if the court come in and says the only way to create democratic accountability is giving the president the ability to fire, these principal officers, it's very hard for the public to understand, well, why the central bank should be any different. So there's both these core constitutional issues that we're seeing in the short run, but there's a longer term challenge that the Fed, I think, is really going to face, justifying its legitimacy in an environment.
It's easy for us, like in the markets, to understand like the importance, how important, right? The U.S. central bank is kind of the gold standard when it comes to central banks, and the independence is a big reason why. But having said that, independent agencies are independent agencies. And so you either mark them clearly, have them that way, without making exceptions.
Hey,
And that's important.
We're just getting some headlines here that very briefly, we have 30 seconds. I want you to weigh in on. The Supreme Court will weigh FCC power to fine in a regulatory clash. The Supreme Court will consider new curbs on human rights suits. These are just two headlines out of context.
What does that mean?
I was going to say we're going to have to see what it means, but I think what that really means is we're going to see more wins probably for business. And so more of you're going to use jurisdictional and other mechanisms for probably limiting the ability of the human rights issues to be brought in certain types of settings or to be the basis for certain types of claims. I mean,
Like
we'll
an
see,
ICE?
I don't think it'd be ICE. I'd have to know more about the context.
Sorry for doing this to you.
No, it's just classic. But this is what I do. I was going to say it's for me.
No, and
It's
just
all about context.
I'm trying to see if there's any more of a right through here. A little bit. U.S. Supreme Court will consider invalidating the FCC system for imposing financial penalties in a case involving AT&T and Verizon Communication, the case stemming from FCC allegations that the nation's largest wireless carriers illegally shared access to customers' location data and didn't take adequate measures to protect against unauthorized disclosure. So some of this stuff coming out. I don't see anything else.
It's early. I will say, I mean, we have seen long before the second Trump administration, this court has shown a real hostility and concern about the level of authority vested in what you might broadly consider the administrative state. So we've had a whole variety of decisions starting about 12 years ago that have been chipping away at the ability of administrative agencies to do anything, along with chipping away at their autonomy and the ability to use expertise rather than more political considerations to kind of make these big decisions. So that also could be quite consistent with something that is apart from this administration, which is just an effort to chip away at what the agency can do.
And this human rights suit, apparently, the U.S. Supreme Court considering putting new limits on lawsuits against companies over atrocities abroad, agreeing to hear Cisco Systems bid to stop claims that it was complicit in China's torture of some individuals. So there are some specific cases around here. All right.
Professor, perfect timing. Thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Professor
thank you.
Catherine Judge, Harvey J. Goldschmidt Professor of Law at Columbia Law School. She's also the author of Direct, The Rise of the Middleman Economy and the Power of Going to the
Just
Source.
take a desk here so we can go to you all the time. Between you and June Grosso, we'll have it all covered. It's really wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's get another check on the trade, how we wrapped up, and some of your top business stories. Back over to Charlie Pellet we go.
Hi, thank you very much, Carol Master. One word, records. Records for the Dow, the S&P, and also today, the Russell 2000 index of small cap shares. Market rotation continues. Russell 2000 index going to begin there, up 0.8%. The Dow today up 0.5%, now at 49,504. We've got the S&P higher by 0.6%, wrapping up the week, heading into the weekend, 69.66. No record for NASDAQ, up 8.
Are you open up some Pokemon?
I'm just bidding on some. I thought I'd get some, show some what I've been doing. So check it out. So like, let me pause this. Yeah. So I don't know if you checked it out yet, but Courtyard.io, and so you can send your collections here. So if you own graded Pokemon cards, you can send them to this company, and they insure it and put it in a vault. But the cool thing is it's on chain. So your Pokemon cards are on chain. So it's in New York. So I've never like collected Pokemon cards until recently, and I've only done it on this website. But what I've been able to do is I started off with like $225. but you can see I got $200, and I have all these cards. So I've been like, what I've been doing is is putting offers on these packs of cards and then selling them for way more than I bought them for, and I've been able, so basically like minus $25 I'm sitting on this entire stock is basically paid for. This is all really priced at market too. So you know, um, so yeah, like and like people in EAC have really liked winning these as prizes or in raffles. I know that you got in on some raffles too, and but yeah, I've got a bunch of stock of these now that I can give out as rewards or raffles or sell and flip. But you can see here on my activity, like where like I sold the pack for $7.49, but like I bought the pack like, well, there's at $2, or you know, that one wasn't that pack, but well, you can see like, yeah, so I've been picking up packs for around like $2 and then selling them for at least like $3-4. I picked up this card and flipped it for a little profit. I think I got that one for 59 and sold it for 66. So that $7 profit right there from just buying and selling. So that's what I've been doing pretty on a daily basis. Then the other cool thing is too, that they give you rewards they give you 30 points just for like clicking the button every 24 hours. So I accumulated 534 points, and then if you like come where you can open up the packs, so they got that one for $69, which is like, well, like if you look, so you open up this pack, you see what's in, it's a surprise. And if you don't like what you can get, you can sell it back for 90%. You can see the odds up here that, there's a 29% chance that you're going to win like 35 to $50. And then you can see the odds, there's a 0.6% chance that you could win, a $2,000 card. So there's lower cost ones than that. So like the ones that I've raffled off are the sealed booster pack. It's like you win, like up to $160 card or $160 booster pack. And then I've opened up this one, which is they've been restocking this, like it's like the third day they had to restock this, so it's pretty popular. But it's fun to kind of open it up and see. But that's definitely not the way to make money. But what I wanted to show about this is that you can, like any of these, if you click on buy, well, I can pay for it in points. Now, how many points is this one? It's 13,000 points, but the $10 ones are like 2,000 points. But I've already saved up 534 points just from like basically showing up here on a daily basis and getting those 30 points. So in another month and a half, I'll be able to open up a free pack of the cards, the $10 pack, and maybe I get a $5 card, or maybe I get a $160 card, or a booster pack. But like still, it's kind of like, it's fun content to record it and open it up, and it's and well, it was free either way. I mean, just for showing up and clicking a button every day. So this is yeah, I definitely like Courtyard for sure. Like and yeah, like they've been every time I mention them in a post or whatever, they also like give me like a like and comment on it. So, I think they're one of the best kind of collections built out on Polygon right now. Like they're definitely like probably if not the top collection on Polygon, because they're just more than just like an NFT collection. Like they're actual real live Pokemon cards that can be your collection that are on chain. Like you can see you can buy them here on OpenSea and also list them, but you can also buy and list them on their website, which is better because so here's my so here's so not only are these like listed on OpenSea, but they're also listed here. But the thing is with listing them here, there's people buying these packs of cards that have nothing to do with NFTs. They might not even be into crypto. They're just into Pokemon cards. And they just want to buy packs and open them up. And so like this is giving you access to a way bigger, like when you sell cards here, you're getting access to a bigger marketplace of people to sell cards to, because they're not just people that are into crypto, they're people that are into Pokemon cards. And guess what? The amount of people that are into Pokemon cards compared to the amount of people that are into crypto are way different. And you can see here for that reason, like there's not really that many NFT collections that have 54,000 owners. Like the top NFT collections don't have that. And why is that? It's because people own those NFTs that don't even know that that they own NFTs. Like look at Milady, it has 5,000. Look at like even CryptoPunks. Like, well, definitely, the top NFT collection of all time. Obviously, like I don't think anyone can debate that. They have 3,800 owners. Like that's nothing compared to 54. What was it? 54,000. 54,000 owners. This is mass adoption without people knowing that they're on crypto right here. So super bullish on Courtyard.io. Thanks for saying that. I'm definitely going to clip out my whole talk here and to promote Courtyard.io.
Yeah, no problem, dude. Like I heard about him a long time ago, and I say a long time ago. I don't know what a long time ago is anymore. Crypto kind of warps time, and I just never really got into it. But it's definitely like hearing you explain. It's definitely more intriguing, especially if you can get like just a free pack from clicking the button every 24 hours. You get the free pack in like 2 months or something. So it's like people have kids who are totally into Pokemon. It'd be just one of those deals where you're just like, hey, just make sure you keep clicking this button and you'll get a free pack or free something out of it. So, I mean, that's pretty darn cool. I did buy some IRL Pokemon cards because I saw them and I was just like, oh, they have them in stock, and I was just like, all right, let me go look. And I DM'd Bread a picture of them, and I was just like, are these any good? And he didn't respond yet, and I was just like, well, I'm not gonna wait. I scanned them. I kind of looked at them. I'm like, okay. It's like, it looks like they're selling for double what I can buy them for. So I was just like, I'll just buy them. I'll buy a couple because I was only allowed to buy 2, which is fine. Should be for kids anyways. But yeah, I bought a couple, and now I'll just sit on them. I bought some like 5 years ago. I don't remember how much I bought them for. I think it was probably my guess was 15 to 20 bucks. And now they were like little tins, like collector tins. And I keep forgetting I have them, but I can sell them for like, I think it's last I checked, it was like $100. So I was like, pretty good deal for just doing nothing but sitting on it.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd consider, if I was you, to have, like, you send them to a company that grades them, like PSA is one of them, and then they put and then you could have them sent to Courtyard, and then they're on chain. You have access to way bigger kind of like market to sell them to, but they're vaulted and insured and on chain. So it's easy for them to like ship them out to whoever buys them or whatever. But it's like building up your NFT collection of actual, stuff you own that's not sitting in your basement. It's that's just something you can. That's kind of what you could consider. It's something that I'm looking at, like doing, like I was when I was younger, my dad and I, we collected these, and I had like a bunch of these, but I sold them, and they're not really like super popular anyways. So
are they comic book cards?
Yeah, they're comic book cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I had a bunch of those too.
So I do have some comics, and you can send your comics here too. But they so it's not just Pokemon cards, but if you go to like the marketplace and then you go to the filters, and you can see like what's the most popular thing here. It's Pokemon. So that's why I've been buying these packs, and I'm not buying them really to open them, because I think it's like, to be profitable, keeping them kind of sealed is like, once you open it, then you know what's inside. But when you keep it sealed, it's like a surprise. Therefore, like, I feel like it holds value no matter what's inside, because it's kind of like a lottery ticket. So that's why I kind of like really like collecting these sealed packs, for flipping, just for making profits. But I'm sure that if like I amass this huge Pokemon card collection, that my daughter would be like ecstatic to like get that when I pass away, and that's kind of a cool thing. She likes Pokemon cards, and it would be cool to kind of to pass them on to her, like, so maybe she can like make money off them, or give them to her kids or something. But in the meantime, it's just a fun thing. I've been adding them to the EAC store. You can buy them with EAC token, and yeah, it's just fun. So I think it's one fun thing that I've started to do that's just added to my kind of daily routine.
Nice. I like it.
A nuclear weapon. Of course, there was that stunning strike on Iran nuclear facilities earlier just a few months ago. The president is saying that he's not hesitating to take further military action if he thinks that Iran is again trying to rebuild their nuclear program. He had previously said that Iran's nuclear program was totally obliterated, but he said that he's been seeing some reports that might not be the case. They're not completely walking back that completely obliterated line. So definitely, we're hearing a lot of.
Yeah, it'd be great too if we can get like once you start streaming, you can see on like a tab here that there's campaigns, but you need a minimum viewership of 10 people, and then you can like start the campaign, and I guess it's like ways you can get paid. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to be getting 10 people over here streaming, and if they stream, I can like bring up their stream in a tab and be like viewing them, and then we just get like 10 people. You can have 9 people talking up here. So, that's all we need. Like 9 people streaming. We all watch each other's streams and we can all be like making money.
Yeah, I was looking at that last night. I was thinking it was pretty cool.
I know Joe, I was talking to him on the timeline today, trying to, like, he said he's got to, like, put it on his radar to check it out. And so I'm sure he can get a ton of viewers.
I mean, the cool thing is that it's free at the moment, so that's the best part, in my opinion.
Here's a big news story. Walmart accepts Bitcoin payments at checkout. Yeah, like, it's for being free, and like the whole what it's offering. Like, yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure some people will be like, "Oh, it isn't as good as whatever," but I was like, dude, at that point, it's like it's free, so don't complain.
Yeah, it definitely needs more people. But it had it easy to use, like, once you upload a video or this live stream, had it easy to use, like, clip out a section, like, so I don't even know if StreamYard had that. I never clipped something from StreamYard.
It has an AI clipping thing that you can clip. Like, it just clips, like, I don't know, it just uses AI to clip things. But I mean, yeah, I've used it like once or twice, and it'll like clip it. It'll put a caption on it and all that other stuff. The captions are a little off, like in terms of spelling and all that. But like, I haven't really uploaded anything from it, so I kind of just, like I said, I just started looking.
What I think is next is like the whatever streaming one platform offers it, like filters where like it'll put it'll make my face into whatever I wanted it to be avatar. Like, so
I think I could be wrong. There might honestly be, like, I think it's not. Maybe it's TikTok. Like TikTok Live might do that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what if you can or not.
Yeah, because I know, like, if you go in Facebook Messenger, you can choose all those different kind of filters, cheesy filters. But I'm talking about like next level AI stuff where it's like makes me look like a whole different person, like legit.
It would be cool. It would be cool if you could use like your PFP, or you
Yeah.
just like use an NFT like from your evil aliens
Yeah,
collection.
if I was
or
a
whatever.
talking alien for a bit, that'd be awesome. That's where I kind of really hoped we were at by now, but Moving
It's a
there
matter of
slowly.
time. Yeah, I saw that Walmart thing though, for accepting Bitcoin a couple days ago. I was like, yeah, that is big. That's big news.
I would never have my Bitcoin touch a Walmart machine, but that's just me.
I wouldn't either, but hey, some people might be desperate.
What has Clutch been streaming on?
He's been using Restream, and I mean it's pretty good. Like I looked at it, and I think it's slightly cheaper than StreamYard, but you can't like StreamYard. I think I'm still on I'm in the middle package or something like that. I don't know if it's going to go up or not.
Still 40
So
bucks. I think that's like
yeah,
like Netflix. That's way more than Netflix.
exactly. Well, and then so Restream was is like 25 bucks, but then you can, I think you like the middle, because I looked at the middle package for it, and it's cheaper than StreamYard, and you can stream to a few more places than you can with StreamYard all at once. And then um the only thing is StreamYard includes AI clipping, and you have to pay extra, like $19 extra or something like that for Restream AI clipping. But I don't know how much, I don't know how good the clipping is, honestly. I know StreamYard, it's okay. Like I said, it's okay, but I don't know how it determines all.
I'm gonna write the Clutch, tell him to check this out.
I mean, I do know they do stream to Rumble, so they have a Rumble channel. Like they stream to Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, like anything and anything that can accept a stream, they'll take it, or they stream to it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's
was
the way to do it. Then have your main stream and then stream all to it. But
yeah. Well, and it's I was checking out because I think they stream through the Novex channel or whatever, but then Clutch will stream from his account, and so you got a lot of people streaming from their accounts. So it reaches even more. But I was looking at Clutch's X live stream, and I'll assume some of it's obviously bots or whatever. But I mean, dude, he was getting 2,000 people on his live stream.
On his live stream, on X?
Yeah, on X it said 2,000 viewers or something. Something
That's
just
not
ridiculous.
that's not viewers. That's people that viewed it, but still, it's.
Okay. So people that popped in and then popped out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still, those are good numbers for X. X isn't up there as one of the main places to watch videos. So if you have 100 subscribers on Rumble, then you can apply for what is it called?
Say that again.
I'm just looking it up. So if you have 100 followers, you're eligible for the Rumble Creator Reward Program. So and if you go to the page to find out, then you get 404 page not found. Oh well. But I mean, that's like definitely easier to achieve than what you have to achieve on YouTube 1,000.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't anticipate getting very much, but that's all right. Got to start somewhere.
Well, and the good thing about it, like I'm live on YouTube right now from Rumble, so like it's still adding the content to YouTube that hopefully people will watch, and hopefully like I'm moving towards a monetization on YouTube. I mean, but the other thing is like that I kind of was like, yeah, Rumble's better is because they're promoting like crypto, you know, on YouTube. There's no promotion of crypto, and on X, which is like X is one of the biggest apps for crypto because it has like the most people that talk about crypto. Crypto Twitter. They also shadow ban you for talking about crypto and don't allow anything like ads for crypto or NFTs. So I think a lot of people might like, I hope that Rumble picks up, not just for the reason that to make money, but for the reason that other companies will actually like look at it and go, "Uh-oh, we better start doing this too." And you know, if Elon Musk, he has like the users, even though he's not even. I thought it was like one of the top social media apps, but I still think there's like tons of users. So that's the main thing. Like you need to have is users. But also you don't want to lose the users because it really like even any app just started from, it's not like they all started somewhere, and then if something grabs like mind share and everyone's like go to this and everyone FOMOs into it, then users can disappear fast. So I hope that Elon like thinks about that seriously and implements some crypto stuff and starts being more open, which is weird because like he like reposted Doge and stuff, and I think that I would like to think that he is into crypto. I just don't know why the app isn't.
I think it might be a matter of time, you know, honestly, until they get their own, you know, thing rolling when it comes to crypto. I mean, to me, it's a matter of time.
Right.
And I think he's made statements before that he's like, I want it to be like the U.S. version of WeChat or something like that, and I think that was kind of one reason why he was just like they like went to quote unquote encrypted chats or something like that. And it makes sense to encrypt your chats, like your DMs, but it also was like an annoyance, like when you had your DMs, but then you had your encrypted chat, and it's just like, well, why don't you just make it an encrypted chat to begin with, instead of like you having to like go from one thing to the next, And it's
Right.
like I still think I have, like, I don't know what's going on, but every time it like almost always shows my app saying, hey, you have 5 notifications. So every time I go open it, it's like nothing. And I was like, well, where are these 5 things? Like,
Yeah.
is this like the quote unquote encrypted chat that I'm supposed to have? Or like what? Like, I don't get it.
One thing that X like definitely has going for it is like Spaces, which is I don't I don't really populate other social media apps too much, but I don't think there's much that compares to that. And
Well, it's funny because, I never really have too many issues with Spaces. I know there are issues with them, but it's not like a ton. And it I don't know, I've just, I like Spaces because it's easy to talk. Like, it's easy to, navigate, easy to talk, and yeah, there's still some issues with it, but I mean, for the most part, like, you think about it, and it's like, well, dude, we didn't used to have all of this, and everybody kind of gets a little hurt over, certain things not working exactly the way it should. But I was like, does it work enough to accomplish the job? Yes, it does. Okay, so like, could it be better? Yeah, it could. But at that point, like, what are you willing to do in terms of like, as a consumer with X? Like, are you willing to pay for it? Are you willing to do, like, what are you willing to do to make sure this actually happens? Type of thing. That
yeah, it's something like the other apps don't really have, like that is really lacking, like is the Spaces. I don't understand why YouTube wouldn't like I did see it though on YouTube, like they added this kind of like place where you could like post. So if they're working their way into competing that way. It's all just like them competing with each other, which is good. Definitely, like if Rumble had, I guess, it kind of is like a giant space right now. Anyone can come in and talk, and 9 people can get up on mic. So it's just people aren't really here like they're on X. I mean, I don't know. Not that I get. Well, I feel like if you and I
mean,
the space right now, like we'd have more people. Well, we've had no one come into Rumble, so yeah, that's accurate.
well, we probably would, but I think again, it comes down to, okay, I have to have my Rumble Studio app or something like that. You have to have the Rumble Studio app to come up here, type of deal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is a blockade that they've kind of added then.
But even then, dude, it's like, it's download an app, and like I said, I had to verify. I don't know if like you said, you don't remember, but not to sit there and say you never had to. I mean, maybe you just did, and that was it.
I put
The,
in my phone
like
number, and that was it. And then I was put in the text from the phone number.
Yeah, and that was it. Like I got a code. Like that was the verification, quote unquote. So I haven't done anything else since then. And because it was like, okay, download Rumble Studio, and I was like, oh, there's a studio, there's a whole other thing, and all this other stuff, and I'm like, okay. So I mean, it is a bit of a barrier, but again, it's like when it comes to some of that stuff, I'm just like, man, why are some of these things like end up being a barrier? It's like, oh, I can't do this. I guess I just won't ever do it. And it's like it literally takes like 2 seconds. You click a few more buttons, type of deal. And unfortunately, sometimes those few more buttons is just enough to prevent somebody from doing something. Like we were talking, like I talked about it with one person with CREC. He's like, oh, I can't just swap it directly from my Phantom wallet. I copied and pasted. It's saying the Phantom saying it can't find it. And I was like, oh, like, and I didn't really experience that because I had bought it off of like months ago, like before I'd even like back in the last summer, I was like, I bought it and I was just like, I knew I just had to do it. But then once it was in my wallet, I could buy and sell at will. And, when the guy was like, I can't find it in my wallet. And I was just like, well, then just go to like Jupiter, like jup.ag or birdeye.so. And he was just like, oh, you're going to have to do that. And I was like, yeah, just go to your mobile browser and then type it in. And he's just like, oh, I was hoping I could just swap from my wallet. And I was just like, it's literally like, I was just like, it's like 2 extra buttons, but okay. Like, if you don't want to, you don't have to. And if that's what's stopping you, like, I don't know. Like, it's one of those deals. Like, I can't imagine, like, just other things. Like, people just stop because they're like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I mean, I do that sometimes too. Don't get me wrong. There's times when I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to deal with this right now.
Right.
But, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, like if it's like a frustrating error and you can't explain it, you don't want to sit there trying to figure it out. But I definitely like if I start something, I want to finish it, kind of like with that night airdrop, which I'll be able to talking about the night airdrop. I can get my first redemption on the 27th here.
Oh, nice. How much is it? How much is one night token?
I don't know. I haven't really been watching it because what I plan to do is just redeem it all over the period of like it's like a year, and send it all to one wallet and just hold it. I'm not looking to cheat it right away. And then hopefully it goes long term, because then I will cheat it. I don't think it's that much money though, but long term, hopefully it is.
What was that last thing you said?
I don't think that like the airdrop is going to be that much money, but I hope that like long term it was worth it.
I mean, for me, it's like all I had to do was set up the thing, and listening to you and Buddy talk about setting it up, that kind of helped me navigate setting it up on my own without having to like ask anybody. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't like, all I had to do was just leave my computer on.
Yeah.
And I'll say I didn't get every, like, there were a few things that didn't work out for me. So yeah. trying to kick some of this ice off, and it's like, don't want to kick my entire bumper off.
Cold out there.
Yeah, it's a little chill. How much night token did you end up getting?
Like 2,000, I think. Like across the 5 browsers that I had running, because I shut it off.
Oh, nice. So have you done any claims yet?
No, because
Okay.
you have to wait the unthawing period.
Gotcha.
So I just looked at all of them because it's a random unthawing period, which I'm like bullish on. It makes sense. Like it's like, how do we prevent a huge dip in our token while we just randomize when people can claim? Smart.
Can I just wait to claim all at once, or have to claim that certain amount and then wait again to claim the next certain amount?
Yeah, because you have one you ran it on one, so you have one claim, so it's like 4 different thaw periods so it thaws out a quarter each time. So, and it's a random period each time over the course of, I think it was a year. So you just have to look to see. What I did is like, you just look to see when your thaw period is out for that one quarter, mark a date in your calendar, and then you could claim that. And then I don't really know the answer to your question if you have to claim the first amount to get to the second claim. That I don't know.
Gotcha. That's all right. I'll figure it out. Like, because I just know that there's times when it's like, if you claim now, then you can only claim this much and you forfeit the rest, type of deal. You know how some people are like, or you could wait to claim and you can claim your entire amount. So
no, I think it's like you can claim your full quarter after this date only, and then it's a random thaw period for the next quarter. But what I don't know is if you don't claim your first quarter, if it goes to unthawing the second quarter, which I would like to think that it doesn't, because not to make it a pain in the ass, but to make it a pain in the ass, because people should actually like pay attention and claim before they get a second claim, because obviously I want less people to claim because it's
exactly
more bullish for the token. No offense to the people, but if you're lazy, I don't care. If you're too lazy to set a reminder on your calendar and click 2 buttons, then I don't want you dumping the token on me.
Well, and that's what a lot of people do. It's like with certain airdrops that I've been in or whatever. It's like you go into the Discord or something and you got people who are like, I've been typing in here for 3 months and this is all I get. And it's just like, dude, you've been typing in a Discord. Like, you didn't really do anything necessarily for the protocol. Like, you just typed a lot in the Discord server. And it's like, I don't know what you were actually expecting, but okay. Like, that's kind of like when I'm just like, I want to use, if I want to do an airdrop, I want to do an airdrop for a protocol that I can actually try and use, as opposed to, hey, you're going to need to sit in the Discord and be active. And that activeness is just like, just typing like a maniac and not really doing much after that. Like, such a drain. Like trying to get whitelist for NFTs back in the day. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah,
it was
I missed
a
that,
pain.
I did experience it, and yeah, I'm. I mean, I'm not glad that I missed that era. I feel like I could have made some money.
Well, I'll tell you, like, I did it, and like I said, dude, I was just like, my effing goodness, like I was just like, I had no idea. And then I got to a point where I was just like, okay, nah. I was like, I am done with this typing like a madman for like, weeks on end, just trying to get a whitelist or whatever. So it was like, if I didn't win a giveaway, I would either just get it on secondary, or I'd just be like, all right, cool, on to the next. Let's see if I can get something else.
Yeah, no, like grinding for a chance to get something is definitely hard to do sometimes, to like justify your time spent if you don't get anything. Well, it's like, I mean, it's hard to keep yourself motivated. Well, it's not motivate. It's not. Yeah. Because I definitely grinded some whitelists and never got the whitelist. Or I grind a whitelist, think the first one that I ever did was like, yeah, grinded the whitelist. I got the NFT. I'm gonna hold it. It's gonna be worth $1 million. Project Rugs.
That's the biggest kick in the nuts every time, dude. You put all that effort in, and then they rug, and you're just like, son of a god.
One of the first the only token I ever got in on Cardano was like called Clown, and I got in and I grinded for it, and I got it right on the I got an airdrop allocation like before pre-sale, and I got the token, and I'm like, and I remember like it was like $50 right when the token came out, and the token was ripping. I'm like, yeah, $50. And then by the time I even kind of really thought, hey, I should sell this, like it went to zero. So definitely learned lessons.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, dude, it's been a crazy adventure. I will tell you that. I remember, I had one. So there was one NFT project called DualBots, and I think it was DualBots, and it was like an online casino, or like it was a crypto casino, and it, like, to mint one was 10 Solana.
Damn.
But Solana was at that point, I think, like $10, or I mean, it was stupid cheap for Solana. And I was like, man, 10. I was like, all right, F it, I'm gonna do it, because like I was in this one group, and they're like, yeah. He's like, the guy was like, I'm gonna go ahead, and he's like, I'm max minting DualBots. I just have a feeling, and I was like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So I minted one, and I'm sitting there holding, and like it pumped up to, I don't know, it pumped up pretty good the first time, or at least it pumped at least 17 Solana. That was the floor, and I was just like, okay. I waited. I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna sell it. So I sold it for 17 Solana. So I made a profit, dude. Nice. Next freaking day, or 2 days later, or something stupid, dude, freaking thing just started shooting up.
Oh, man.
I mean, it was like 20, 30, 40, 50. Dude, the thing got to the floor of 200 Solana.
Oof.
And I was just like, I was like, well, I guess profit is, tell myself profit is profit.
That is true.
You know, it's true, but man, it's still a kick in the
You just-
groin.
You can't ever like once you sell, you can't ever go back and watch. That's the trick.
Exactly. And then there was one called Bulldog Billionaires, and I managed to minted 3 of them. Each one was like a Solana, 1 Solana mint, and then, dude, I ended up selling like 2. I mean, I got profit, but it ended up going to like a 30 Solana floor, and I had one that was like a epic, and so I was just like, okay, I can sell this one for, I should be able to sell this for like 50, and so I had it, dude. It went from 30 Solana down to like basically the founders just quit on the whole project because they ended up doing like the staking, and then like the staking ended up like I made a few bucks off of the staking, for their token or whatever, but like that whole thing, like staking is just like, if you don't have something for your token to be used for, like your token's going to go to 0 real quick, and your liquidity pool is going to get emptied like ASAP. So
yeah,
like,
well, and it's not something that you can really think about after you mint the NFTs. You have to like plan the collection to be stakeable because you have to raise funds to go into that stake contract. A lot of like projects were like, oh, we minted out our collection. What do we do now? Make them stakeable. Okay. Where's the money come from?
exactly. Well, and I mean, I think they had that plan to begin with, because I think there was, I don't know, they were like, it was like you staked them, and then you could use your token for other things that would then allow you to stake even more, and but then you had to like burn things and all of this stuff, and like it could have worked, but I eventually told them, I was like, they're like, well, what do we do? Like things are going downhill or whatever, and they're like, well, what like having like a VC, like a community VC, and I was just like, well, like, dude, just start. I was like, you have your own dogs, because they're like, yeah, we they're like, we have our own French bulldogs or whatever, and they were just like, well, I was like, why don't you guys just come up with some sort of I don't know, like billionaire like bulldog line or something, and just start selling pet stuff. And they're like, oh, and I was just like, all right, well, never mind.
Too much work.
Yeah, exactly. It's too much work, and you don't want. It's like we just
want to get rich quick, man.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they made a good chunk of change. But yeah, that was the second you started getting the, well, I'm not sure. It's just like, okay, you don't like the idea. You can just say that's a terrible idea or something like that. That's kind of how I always look at it. So, because I know if I did the same thing, I'd be like, I don't like it. I don't like the idea. Oh, okay, cool. We just move on to the next. It was like that. Remember the Cabuso guy? The Cabuso token?
No.
There was a dude that came around to like all the spaces trying to shield the Cabuso token, and he was just like, I've tried to do everything and da da da, no one's helping and da da. And I was like, well, dude, like, he's like, I think it could do really, really well. Like, I like the conviction, but I was like, you better start figuring something out, because nobody's gonna buy your token. And I remember I saw something like a ping, like a notification from something, and it said Cabuso, And I was like, oh, what? Kabuso's taking off? And I went to look, and I was like, oh, it's not the Kabuso token that guy was shilling. It was a different Kabuso token. And I was like, this guy is probably losing his mind right now. Because, it was on Buddy's Space. It was on one of Buddy's Spaces. And I was just like, dude, the Kabuso token's taking off. And we all, like, me and Buddy got in. I don't know if somebody else did or not, but we got in, we got our profits, and then we just said, oh, I feel bad for the other Kabuso guy, but we got our percentage.
I mean, yeah. I mean, think about it. Like the first Pepe, the one that we all looked to see, it wasn't even the first Pepe launched. Like, imagine that launched the first one is like fucking probably offed himself.
Well, and that's funny because I'll see, like, I think it was 2 days ago or something, I saw a shit coin, and I was like, that's not Bread's, is it? And no, it wasn't.
Like an actual shit coin.
Yeah, the token was actual shit coin.
Oh no.
And yeah, I was like, oh, that's not Bread's. He's probably sad because it was ripping again. It was like,
oh man, is that why Brett's not been around?
Well, he did say he was sick. So, like last week, I don't know if he's still sick or not. But yeah, I was just like, that sucks. And then, yeah, dude, I had one. Let me look. I've been taking profits along the way. It's called testicle token.
Oh yeah.
Just been taken off. Like, dude, I don't know. Like, I bought it. I kind of just wrote it off, like, as a loss. And I started looking. I was like, holy cow! It just keeps going. Yeah, like I said, I've been taking profits along the way.
I just promoted you as moderator. What do you got now?
You what?
I just saw that I could. It said promote as a moderator, so I just gave you that. Nice. Can you nice. Like you have options to like share your screen and stuff, or? At the bottom, like disable microphone, disable camera, stop, share screen. Do you have that? Be right back.
Oh, sorry, I don't have share screen. Well, while EAC is gone, buy some CREC coin. CREC is the ticker. If you're familiar with crypto, buy some CREC coin. CREC coin Soul. You can check them out on X. And get into the Discord. Tell them Hermit sent you. And then you can start farming the airdrop with me and EAC and pretty much everybody else in there.
Yo, so yeah, sorry, I was gone there. Can you share screen or no?
No, sorry, I was on mute. No, I can't share a screen. it doesn't show that I can.
Yeah.
I mean, but I am on my phone, so that might make a difference.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hopefully they have kind of features like that, because then that would be an edge that StreamShare has, definitely. But I mean, the part I look kind of forward to is if Buddy gets back to streaming, like I can just share his stream, but on Rumble.
Oh, for sure. And I think, like I said, I think he will. I just think they're just trying to, like, because he was on a meeting during my stream, so I was trying not to bug him.
No, I'm
But,
bullish. Like if he's busy,
yeah.
that's good news. All right, man. I think we're gonna wrap this one up.
Sounds good, boss.
And then maybe I might pop in, but if I do, I'll let you know. And then, yeah, I'm sure I'll see you around in Spaces or something this weekend.
Oh, for sure. Are you going to stream this weekend at all, or?
Yeah, like I think what I'll do is if there's like some X Spaces that are happening, I'll stream them.
Gotcha. Okay.
But other than like sitting here and streaming, probably not.
Okay, fair enough. No, that makes sense.
But I'll be back to it on Monday for sure. Appreciate
Cool.
you showing up. Definitely better than hanging out by myself. And yeah, man. Have a good weekend.
Yep, you too, boss. I'll talk to you later.